Hello everyone, and welcome to the last Walford Weekly, your weekly EastEnders podcast, where this week we'll be discussing the episodes released on the BBC in the UK from Monday the 27th to Thursday the 30th of March 2022. I hope you're all well. I trust you all are, and I trust that you all have a tissue nearby ready to weep your little eyes out as we go through the very last review of EastEnders together. With me anyway. There'll be plenty more EastEnders reviews coming up after next week. And that will be because of this very man. He's here. He's saying his last goodbyes to me. It's Rob, everyone. Hi, Rob. How are you?
All right.
No. He's sulking.
No, not doing it. No, that's it. If I refuse to talk, this can't finish.
That's a good point. This could go on forever, couldn't it?
I know. I could sit here in silence, and then you have to, and then you never leave. That's okay. That's. I mean, it's a bit of a. I don't know how much tea I've got left to kind of keep that.
It's hello, also everybody. Tricky because I might end up talking nonsense and more so than normal.
There.
Yeah, true.
Hello, everybody. How are we? It's look at you in your shirt and everything. You made an effort.
I know.
That's nice.
I said it's like I feel like I'm doing a job interview with us both on our shirt. We're both having a conversation for a new job.
You're fired. Yes. Well, here we are then. The very last Walford Weekly. 5 years of this podcast.
5 years, 1 month.
5 years, 1 month. The last month was probably the best. Has finally come to an end. Well, not yet. It will come to an end after this mammoth final podcast. We've got lots of nice things for you this week. Lots of trips down memory lane, and maybe even a guest appearance by somebody from Walford Weekly's past. His dark, tortured past. You never know.
I love that you're mixing it up as a surprise, but I feel like it's probably the worst kept secret on.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's. Yeah. I mean, in terms of suspects, the list isn't huge, is it?
All right, there's one. Yeah. But the show must go on. We're doing the final show as normal to begin with. We're going to do the I Want to Gossip at the top of the show, so we'll be doing that in a second. Then we'll be doing our review. Then we've got a very special, as Rob said, a very special I Want to Gossip at the end of the show. But before any of that, Rob, we've got one more final thing to do together.
Final podcast tradition to fulfill, and it's nice that it's finished on. This is on the last episode, I think. We have to change the calendar, so we've gone from Sharon and Phil on their month-long wedding day with Shirley just about to shoot Phil to the 1st of April. I mean, this will be a great time for you to say that this is all an elaborate April Fool's joke.
A lot of people said this. A lot of people did get in touch and say, like, "Oh, this is an April Fool's, isn't it?" It's like, my goodness, this is a big build-up for an April Fool's, but sadly, it's not. No.
Sadly, it's not. No. So, ladies and gentlemen, we turn to April. There we go. I mean, that's just a kind of classic. I know it's a bit innocuous, classic really. Do you know what Sharon is trying to do here? She's trying not to steal our thunder. That's what she's doing. And it's a nice shot of Sharon and Phil and just sort of them doing their thing. But that is April. And in fact, I think she looks sad because she should do on this day, I feel. So there we are then. That's going up. And
oh my goodness! The first time ever
it's learned
off the wall. The very final episode of the podcast. Anyone who doesn't watch the podcast, please do watch it this week because it's going to be full of old clips as well, like old memories. So it's good because you can see like the episodes and so on and so forth. And so I do recommend, if you can, to watch the podcast this week on our YouTube channel.
Forgive us if you're only here for the EastEnders discussion. There will be lots of EastEnders discussion. It'll be a normal podcast in that sense. But do forgive us if we do veer now and again into slight self-indulgence.
We will, and we're allowed to. It's technically like our big celebration. Exactly. What are you going to do? Because I'm not going to be here next week. I don't give a damn. Yeah, go on, find me. Go on, find me and hunt me down. But it's great. The last episode and the calendar finally stays on the wall.
Nice to know. Nice to see.
No more nails on there. Right, so shall we start then with a bit of gossip to begin with?
Yes.
A new family are moving to the square.
You know me, I ain't one to gossip.
So at the beginning of this week, actually the middle of this week, at some point this week, there was an announcement made.
Yeah.
End as you've started. That's what I said. At the middle of this week,
you started and mean to.
There was an announcement. I know you will. You won't get this from Ree, will you? You won't get this from Ree. Ree's much more professional.
I might do a bit of a much more northern accent, bless her. Anyway, carry on.
I can try a northern accent. All right there, Rob. How are you
Go on,
today,
then.
Rob?
Go on then, do your northern
Oh,
accent.
you rude. There's trouble brewing in Albert Square as a new family is heading into the Queen Vic, with Linda Carter struggling to manage the pub since Mix's appearance. Both Sharon Watts and the Panasars have been vying to join forces with Linda to run the Albert Square's iconic pub. However, little did they know that Linda is secretly teaming up with her mother, Elaine Peacock, who will be bringing her new lover, George Knight, and his two daughters, Gina and Anna, to the square. Yep, that's right. Those phone calls that we've been discussing for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Logically, it would make sense.
Yeah.
That it's her mother that she's been calling.
Did you get it though?
Did
you get it?
The pub.
Did it occur to you for a second that she might be talking to Elaine? It kind of flitted through my brain, but
Not
then
once.
I was like,
not once.
no. But then I was kind of like, yeah, but I can't see Maria Friedman coming like to the square full time. Completely forgetting the idea that recasting exists. That didn't occur to me whatsoever.
Because she's not coming back. No, she is not. Harriet Thorpe, who in the article they kind of mentioned that she was in Absolutely Fabulous and done a lot of West End. I just know her from the British Empire, playing the receptionist who had the baby in the drawer.
Yeah, that's the one. That's going to be the first big storyline. Going to be a baby.
They keep a baby in the drawer. I'd like that. That's a fun storyline. So Harriet Thorpe is Bean Carter's Linda's mum.
Yes.
Colin Salmon, who I've met, by the way. I sent the message to Rob. I've met Colin Salmon. I was very drunk. I apologise, Colin, for anything I may have said to you. But yes, I met him on holiday once. He's playing the love interest.
I hope you go to EastEnders one day. You'd be great.
I just remember he had a very surprised face that this very drunk idiot was like shaking his hand saying, "I love you. You were great in Arrow." And he's like, "I wasn't in Arrow." Or was he in Arrow? Everybody was in Arrow.
Oh dear.
But there's also been rumours, the rumours were correct, that Molly Rainford was coming to the show, and they were kind of work out where was she going to fit in. And she's playing one of the daughters alongside Francesca Henry, both known for being in BBC dramas in the past. So they're kind of keeping it in-house, which is nice as well.
It's 4 very good signings, isn't it?
Feels like it.
Really strong actors there. This is very, very exciting. Colin Salmon is a huge signing. Like, he's done loads and loads of stuff. He's a great actor.
Arrow.
Met you, for God's sake. I mean, huge. So the fact that these 4 are kind of taking over the Vic is exciting. I did wonder whether this was going to happen, because the idea of sort of a new family being kind of introduced and thrust into the Vic as the new owners is a bit of a risky idea. You know, I think we've kind of spoken about this before, like the lightning in the bottle that was the Carters when they first arrived, this massively successful family. But for every Carter family that you try and do, you know, stick in a soap pub, you've got Michelle Collins in Coronation Street, which didn't work out so well. You know, so
her northern accent's not as good as my northern accent.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Maybe you should have played Stella in Coronation Street. That would have solved everything.
I'm always available,
especially now. Yes, so it's very, very exciting, and I really, really hope this works. I think. I mean, new Elaine looks.
I love her hair.
She looks a bit like Angie, doesn't she?
She does, doesn't she?
She's got this vibe of someone who's worked in a London pub for years and years and years, has inhaled 25 years of passive smoking, and just looks like she's going to be some sort of really sort of worldly, wise woman who just knows absolutely everything. It's probably going to be a bit of a character change from the last time we saw Elaine, who was, you know, busy slapping Babe and having young boyfriends and all that.
Who Babe slept with. So this is kind of like, it'd be nice to be in the fridge. When did she
not in the fridge, against the fridge.
By the fridge. No, she was locked in the fridge. Or did she lock Abby in the fridge? I forget how that went now. Or did Abby locked Babe in the fridge?
Babe in the fridge. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
I mean, that whole mad thing with like Babe trying to leading Abby along with his fake pregnancy. Loved it. Marvelous. Bring Babe back, I say.
Interesting that the surname of the family are the Knights.
Yes.
Knights in shining armour.
Oh, Clenners,
Clenshaw, you're at it again. We commented on that on Twitter, and a certain Mr. Clenshaw liked it as well. So perhaps
that's good.
He's
you getting on with executive producers for a change.
I know, it's a nice change, isn't it? Rather than falling out over circumstances. Executive producer Chris Clenshaw said that the arrival of the Knights brings a new dawn to Albert Square. George Knight is a charming rogue and an old school gent who dotes on his two daughters, Gina and Anna. George will take up residence at the Queen Vic when he joins his beloved Elaine, a powerhouse of a landlady who knows just how to have fun. So yeah, very interesting. And we were worried. Well, they have to bring a dog. You can't have a dog, not have a dog in the Vic, really. We were worried about
Shirley kidnapped Lady Di. You need a new dog in the Vic.
Well, Shirley's Shirley's gone right off chart, hasn't she?
Oh,
Really, she's
God
gone
knows where she is.
to see
God-
Dino. She's gone,
Yeah,
you know,
God knows where she is. Through, mate. But this is exciting
breaking all
for Linda
ties
as
with
well,
Linda, eh?
hasn't she? Just
It's
But this is
very exciting for Linda.
and this is great news for Linda for her to have
It
basically
is.
a brand new era for Linda as a character, complete and utter refresh for her as a character. Very exciting, very clever to do, I think, actually, to sort of bring in all these immediate
Very
family.
Clenners.
Very Clenners. And it's really weird, though, this extension of the family, it kind of goes back so far in EastEnders history, doesn't it? Because, like, kind of coming back from Shirley's family and then the extension onto that, and just the way that it's sort of dominoed over the years is really, really satisfying to see, isn't it?
But this is why I say it's very
All the way
Clenners.
back from the
Clenners,
Wixes. It's all very
Clenners-
satisfying.
very much. Clenners knows the history. He loves the history of the show. He respects it. So he knows the right people for the right job.
Mwah.
And so that's why it's just full confidence with what he's done here. And it's kind of almost like a carbon copy of when the Carters first arrived themselves. You know,
Yeah.
it was to build up, it was to originally build up, wasn't it? The Carters, because I've forgotten her name now. I'm so welled up with
Shirley.
pain. Shirley, yeah. Shirley was there on her own, and so they brought the Carters in. Linda's there on her own, so they brought her family in now. The
Perfect.
Knights. So
Perfect.
it just feels really,
Knights will roll
really
in.
sensible. It will.
That's my
It will.
third-
But
that's my-
it's
spoiler alert, that's my first title, the second that they arrive. Already thought of that.
But again, it kind of makes you straight away think also about what's going to happen over Christmas. How are they going to be involved then? Because obviously there's that
yes.
family there. You know, they can't hide a dead body on the floor if there's 2.4 children
So
under the roof.
Is it Colin Salmon on the floor? It may well be, but what he might have done to annoy all the women
What
in
would
the
he
square,
have
he managed to be
done?
say, who knows? A lot can happen between now
Colin.
and Christmas. Poor Colin. You're like, leave my mate. You're gonna be watching like, leave my mate alone.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone. As we always say, do comment below. You know, even though this is the last
know
episode, doesn't mean we don't. It doesn't mean we don't want to know what you guys think. So comment below what you think about the new family as well. And don't forget to get in touch with Rob on his Twitter, which is
At Robinus87, or you can follow the new podcast Twitter account, which is E20 After Dark.
fantastic. Right, let's get rolling. Next is the sum up of this week's EastEnders. But before that, here's a classic clip from Walford Weekly's
Walford
past.
Whistle.
But did anyone really bother?
Well, I think to the viewer,
Donna didn't go. Oh, she did go.
She
but
did go
She had to
eventually.
be talked into it by Robbie.
because she was so upset. So it wasn't that she was doing it out of her
Well, she hasn't
nasty...
been upset for a month. No one's mentioned poor Abby. Now all of a sudden it's
Well, she's been hiding from the bailiffs
and painting roses.
and painting roses with spray paint. God,
One of the funniest lines was when everyone found out that she'd sold them painted roses. They were all coming after her in a mob after Donna and Robbie. As they were running away and and Donna was in her speedy wheelchair, Robbie shouted out, "Quick, run."
Oh, Robbie, that's poor form.
I mean,
although
so I found that quite funny.
it's not that Donna couldn't get out of her wheelchair and
She
run.
can't run.
She could give it a damn good go,
Mm.
but she'd prefer to take her wheelchair, which is fair enough. I'd prefer to take my wheelchair too. But yes, that's a pretty poor thing to say. You'd think they'd spot that, wouldn't you? You'd think you'd spot something like that when they were filming it. Then when
I
we got
mean,
to the editing
maybe
room,
Robbie loves Donna so much he sees past her handicap. Let's go with that.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
PC. So we also had Jack, who wasn't at the funeral because he teleported to the hospital because he was worried Max would steal the baby because of what Cora said.
Yes.
Burst into the room,
Mm.
yelled at everyone before they could even say anything. Where's baby Brennan?
Where's Baby Brennan?
Where is she?
But let's quickly elaborate on that. He stormed into a hospital babies unit, which is straight away a strike in my book. Then he yelled at a nurse before she even had an opportunity to answer him. Where's Baby Branning? She said nothing in return. You don't understand. This has been a very stressful time for me. And it's like, and then basically proceeded to shout until Max walked into the room with Baby Branning, and then gave him to Jack, and then he disappeared and teleported his way to the
Is the
church.
funeral place and the hospital close?
It would make sense to have a church and a hospital close to one another.
I mean, to take Abby a month to get there, so it can't be that close.
Yes, true. Well, yes, there's many different stops though. I'd imagine Abby had to take from the deathbed to the coffin, the eventual resting place of Abby Branning.
We begin with the Mitchells, specifically Lola to start with. Lola has just had a scan and gone to hospital again, and she's received some very bad news. And the fallout of that is that a lot of people are crumbling away from her, namely Emma, who feels like she can't really cope with this news. Also, for having found out about this news, Lola has a bit of a break around Sam as well, demanding that Sam gives her the club for her Bows and Bells charity party, which is Lola then used as a grounds to share her news with everyone. Jay quite rightly said to Emma, "Don't make it about you," but sadly Emma did make it about her.
Very much made it about her.
and ruined it for everyone. We'll talk about Ben and Callum's part of this a little bit later, but let's start off with Lola first then. So yeah, I mean, so we have a time frame now. I mean,
September.
There's that.
I mean, that's the.
It will be September.
It will be September. Honestly, it's just that's the time that they tend to do the big stuff in EastEnders, isn't it? So yeah, we'll kill Lola off just to start that off. I tell you what, this was sad, wasn't it? That moment where she actually told everybody, and then she had to sort of explain it to Lexi. It's not very often I agree with Ben, okay, but Ben pulling Lexi aside and saying, "Look, I don't think Lexi needs to hear this right now." I felt I agreed with him. I felt.
Well, I would have agreed with it. But Lexi was very demanding that she doesn't want to be lied to. So
she shouldn't have been lied to, but I think that Ben could have, like Jay could have taken Lexi away, or let's go sort some buckets out or something, and then gone off and taken it.
Not done it so publicly.
Yeah, and then she could have told the family, and then she could have done it with Lexi on her own, with Jay there, or Ben there, or however, or just later, rather than everybody receiving all this news at once. I felt like maybe Lexi could have been treated slightly more delicately than that. But apart from that, it was a really heartbreaking moment, I thought, when Lexi basically was like, "What? You're not going to get better?" And Lola's kind of sat there saying, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't beat it. It beat me this time," and it was just really heartbreaking. Got me a little bit, to be honest. It was really very sad, and this is going to end me when when it eventually comes to a climax. It really is. It's going to be very, very sad.
Very hurt for the family, but also I thought the moment for me that kind of hit home was when Jay was in the car, just solemnly crying and weeping to himself.
I've said this about Jamie Bothwick. He is an amazing crier, isn't he? He's got this way of just dissolving into tears that just hits you in the.
He's just one big tear.
He is just hits you in the feels every time he cries. He's very, very good at that.
It's like that Skittles advert when you touch someone, you turn into Skittles. Touch him, he just turns to water, drains himself back into the drink.
That's it.
Yeah. No, yeah, it was a devastating moment, and Lola's story has just been devastating moment after devastating moment after devastating moment. There's been no kind of like happy moments really for her, and she's had to struggle through them. The one happy moment she had was her mum coming back, and Emma. We saw Emma only a couple of weeks ago, kind of finding it a bit more difficult than she thought she was going to see it. And then when Lola shared the news with her, it was very much Emma again reverting to herself, what everyone expected her to be, and that is someone who just can't handle any pressure whatsoever. Goodness knows how she gets on with her presumably high-powered job. Like, we need you to do a spreadsheet. I can't. I'm going to America.
I'm off. I'll see you later. I mean, yeah, she made up this absolute cock and bull story. Made no attempt to pretend it was anything other than cock and bull story. By saying that she was off to America. Her boss has had a promotion. She wants to take me with her. Does she now? Really? Yeah.
Wash her feet.
I mean, it's. I mean, do you think that's it for Emma? Is Emma gone now? Do you think, or is?
Well, I don't know, because there's so many rumours going around, isn't there, that it had to be cut short, that the actress's role for one reason or another. So I don't know. It feels a bit sad, really, because I would have liked it more if Emma had stayed on and there was that last kind of moment for Lola. Perhaps she'll come back in 6 months' time.
She grew on me, to be honest, because I was kind of
like fungus. Like the mushrooms in The Last of Us.
Yes.
You'll start clicking.
When she was doing the whole sort of manipulation thing and trying to get rid of Jay and all that kind of thing, I wasn't a fan. But then since she sort of explained her behaviour and you sort of understood her past a little bit more as to why she is the way she is, I was kind of like, right, okay, I get it. All right, as long as you kind of keep doing what you're doing now, then you can stay. I'm happy to have you here. But now she's kind of decided that she can't cope with any of this. She's a drip basically in the sense that she can't deal with any sorts of emotion when it comes to Lola whatsoever. She can't watch the girl that she just kind of got back into her life die, essentially. Which, nobody would say that would be easy by any stretch of the imagination. But it's the worst thing she could possibly do, saying, no, I'm sorry, you're on your own for this, goodbye. It's the worst possible way she could have done it. So
yeah, and it's her one opportunity kind of just to make like the final amends. It's not like, you know what I mean? And I you know, is Emma doing it for Lola? No, I don't think Emma's doing it for Lola. I don't think she's in any. There's a bone in her body that thinks like, oh, I'm doing this for Lola's welfare. She'll be better off without me. I think that's nonsense. Because like when she announced her relocation to America, the reaction from it.
I'm going to the USA. Oh right, anywhere in particular.
Just throw a dart. Oh look, Alaska. There we go.
Hawaii. There we are.
Well, that'd be all right. What does Emma do? Do we still not know what Emma does? Because maybe we could
no idea.
work out somehow.
When Benny first met her, she was in some sort of like some office type block, so she was doing all right for herself. But we never really discovered what. That's what we really need to know, isn't it? Like she was wearing a suit, and she was and the office is
always wearing
posh.
a suit. She's always wearing a suit and a camel not a camel toe, a camel jacket.
Camel toe. Do you know what? I could see that on the brink of your brain before it even came out your mouth. Honestly.
There you go. You'll miss this. I
will.
Yeah. So,
toes, yes.
So it's very sad. Ben obviously didn't react to it brilliantly either. He
kind of character for him.
He kind of at the beginning of the week he was getting a bit upset because he felt like he wasn't participating in the welfare of Lola or Lexi.
Was that what was wrong with him?
I think so, because then he felt like he was also being missed out by his dad, by Phil. Yeah. So then he kind of made up for it by jumping in the boxing ring.
How many big innuendos do you need to throw into boxing, by the way? Jesus Christ, EastEnders, you need Jesus.
But he got a bit of a strop. And I felt like Ben and Callum were back on form with their kind of like, leave me alone, Callum. I know what I'm doing.
No, I'm not talking to you.
I'm stropping.
I mean, I do like Callum's involvement in this at the moment, actually, because he's been kind of he's done really well with sort of kind of dealing with whatever
avoiding
Ben dealing with whatever Ben happens to throw it in week to week, to kind of taking on with Lexi and dealing with Lola and all that kind of thing. So Callum's actually doing quite well with the situation at the moment, and obviously being there as a support mechanism for Jay as well is nice. But yeah, the whole boxing ring. We met the boxing den this week, and as if we didn't need to know, it's a play on words. Thank you, Sharon.
But I thought it was her dad, but it wasn't. It was for her son.
Oh no, we don't talk about Dirty Den anymore. We're only ever talking about Den who died in the boat crash. That's the only Den that matters these days.
Thanks to Phil.
Yes,
it's the last episode. It was Phil's fault.
Of course, it was Phil's fault.
I don't care what anyone says.
Nothing to do with Ian whatsoever. It was Phil's fault.
None. Kill Phil.
And so we've got the gym's gone. We've got the boxing den there now. So what do you think? It's like the boxing den. I thought it's set wise.
It was fine.
Right. Yeah,
it was. They didn't do much really to the set other than build a ring in the middle of it. I don't know why that took 2 weeks.
No, I have to say I don't know what storylines there are in a boxing ring. I was kind of. It was iffy enough as a gym. But as a boxing ring, like I mean, the idea apparently behind it, nothing to do with Phil wanting to throw his testosterone around the square and sort of spread and sort of create men around the square.
Spray himself like a cat.
Spawn some sort of testosterone-fueled men around the square that he can kick a football around with. It's I kind of wonder where, like, apparently that's the idea, is to sort of give the youth of Walford somewhere to go to let out.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Phil wants to start a welfare program for young,
of course he does.
upset kids.
I mean, I would have preferred a snooker hall, to be honest. It would have been a nice callback to the past. You know, when they used to run a snooker hall. And a snooker hall's nice. It's got a sort of kind of atmosphere to it where lots of characters can go and play snooker. I mean, you're not going to see quite a lot of characters even in this boxing ring, are you? It's kind of limits.
I doubt it's going to be used very often at all. But like I said, the gym wasn't particularly used very often. But it was more of a means of an end, wasn't it, for Sharon? Because Sharon needed to raise some money up for the Vic, so she had to share. Good luck with that, Jazz. Well, yes, we'll talk about that in a sec. But and so Phil kind of, bullied his way into saying like, "Well, I want a boxing ring." And as you say, it's like it's his pet project, isn't it? He wants the youth of Walford to appreciate the Mitchells one last time.
They are, by the way, really kind of building on this whole relationship between Sharon and Kat, which I do like, I have to say.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think that a lot of sort of references to Pat and Peggy are kind of being kind of attached to them. Like they've got that sort of relationship where they're at each other's throats one minute and then they're actually getting on really well the next. Which you could argue maybe sometimes feels a little bit forced, but at the same time, I'm really enjoying it as well. So I can't really complain about it. I like it.
I'll definitely talk about Sharon and Kat actually on the next section, because I feel like that Kat encouraged Sharon a lot to go toward Keanu, but not just for looking after Sharon, but also because it kind of takes Sharon away from Phil a little bit. But I do want to also just bring up, right at the end of the week, Ben was approached by another boxer who said, "You look like you got some acts. Do you want a sparring partner?"
I mean, the fact that you could just look at Ben and say, "You need to release some tension."
Just looking at him. I mean, building up to this, Ben's been this very kind of very relaxed. Everyone's been commenting on a lot. He's lost a bit of weight. He looks very clean shaven. His hair's looking very neat. And all it took was this one undoing of like a 30-second boxing sparring during an exhibition match, and he's just unraveled all over again. And now he's desperately trying to organise all kinds of bits and pieces.
There we go. My computer froze for a moment there. Carry on. All is well.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
We're all happy. Wouldn't be Walford Weekly without a little technical issue halfway through. There we are.
Aye. It's all fun. But, so where do you think this could be heading? Could it be heading to Ben going back to his old ways and his sparring partner and him doing more than punching each other's?
If you remember, when this Ben first came in, there was a period where he was actually quite turned on by the idea of getting beaten up. So I hope we're not heading back in that direction.
And also organising kills. Remember how turned on he got when he thought he was going to get Billy shot?
Ben got very weird, didn't he? I'm glad we sort of moved away from that area of Ben.
Well, he was introduced as a human trafficker, wasn't he? So, we'll never forget that. Don't you forget that.
Whether you like it or not.
I will remind you of that every day.
But I mean, who knows what this could bring? Actually, I don't know who this bloke is. I mean, this all kind of boils down to the fact that obviously Ben always wants Phil to look at him, and if the idea of Phil kind of standing on the sidelines of a ring with all the crowd around him cheering on while Ben knocks some poor bloke into submission and then gets his hand held up in the air as the winner of a boxing match with Phil smiling proudly as he applauds. That's like heaven to Ben, isn't it? So it
sounds like a plot to a Rocky film.
It's Billy Elliot, isn't it? That's what it's going to be.
Billy Elliot. That's better. It is exactly that. It's Billy Elliot. So we're going to see.
Bring back his tap dancing shoes, I'd say.
I agree. I'd love to see that. You see him dancing from time to time. You saw him dancing this week at the charity event. So it's always nice. But I mean, it's nice to know that I'm signing off knowing that the Ben and Callum acts, the merry-go-round has been started up again. Someone put 50p in the meter and it's starting all over again.
But it was you, wasn't it? But it was you vicious cow. It was you.
I was stoking that fire all I could. So very sad for Lola.
It's gutting for her, actually. Danielle Harold played a blinder this week, actually. I thought she was really, really good. Like, you get these sorts of stories in soaps now and again with a character being given a terminal illness, and some of them you kind of obviously you're sympathetic.
I love that sentence. You get these characters from time to time with terminal illness.
You get these terminal illnesses every now and again, But some of them you feel sympathy for the character, but you sort of watch it and understand the sadness of it, but it doesn't really hit you in the feels. And this one keeps hitting me in the feels. Actually, it's really sort of like just the performances and the characters involved. It's sad. It's a very, very sad story, and it's going to get sadder obviously as the 6 months go on. So by the time we eventually get to the death, it's going to be some tough watching, I think. So
absolutely. All righty. Well, we're going to go to another classic clip from our past, and we'll be right back with the next section afterward.
As if it wasn't bad enough that I had COVID, I had to deal with this week as well.
This was the most publicised thing I think I've ever seen for EastEnders. God. The long and short of it is, because it really doesn't need a lot of explanation, is that because Callum can't pick up Lexi from school, and because Lola, in a kind of strange bitch moment, decided that she didn't want to put Callum's name onto the parent pickup list.
Because Lola's suddenly the most responsible parent that Walford's ever seen.
And also Lexi, the most sickly child that Walford's ever seen. Again, another incident of sickness from Lexi. She's always ill. That poor child. Basically, Lola says, if you want him on the list, you're going to have to marry him. And Ben's like, well, I was going to marry him
That's
anyway.
a great idea.
Yeah, because a couple of weeks ago I said, I'm going to marry him to Jay. And Jay has mentioned it a couple of times, and I haven't really followed it up, and now I'm going to. And so on a kind of very flyaway, expectant that Callum would say yes, Ben asked him to marry him. Callum was a bit like, oh, I thought it would be a bit more romantic than that. And so Lexi and Ben make a huge plan, and somehow Lexi was able to get hold of fireworks.
Oh,
and
not just
destroy-
fireworks, not like fireworks. It was Chinese New Year. What this? Like they stood up there. Honest to God, it was like London on New Year's Eve. These fireworks. It was insane.
Destroyed London. I if I was an elderly person, I would genuinely think that I'd woken up to the Blitz. It was just,
Honestly, it looked like there was thousands upon thousands of pounds worth of fireworks going off.
very important characters who should have been there weren't. Phil being one of them, Kathy being another
Kathy wasn't
one.
there.
Yeah. But you know, it's happened. And Ben proposed to Callum, but not before Callum proposed to Ben first, because Callum was advised by Whitney that if you love something, grab hold of it with both hands.
Maybe I'm just, I mean, actually, it's no maybe about it. I am a bitter, single, twisted human being.
You're giving people ammo for what they're going to say to you.
Fine, I don't care. Bring it on. I understand. I get it. All right. I get it. It was trying to bring a bit of happiness. And Balham fans all over the world were utterly delighted by the developments that came before them. I get it. I'm delighted for you. I don't care about Balham particularly. Do you know what? I'm amazed that they didn't just make the two actors and bubble them for a while so that they could have a really erotic kiss for the gifts to be made out of. I'm amazed that didn't happen.
I was surprised by that as well.
Amazed. I genuinely thought that, I bet you, any minute now they're going to start ripping each other's clothes off. They'll have bubbled the two actors just so they can film that scene. I bet you anything.
But that's the thing. Balham started with this very hot, intense relationship between them. And they've been a very fiery relationship as well. And then this happens. This very sugary, sickly scene, and it all ended with Ben resting his head on Callum's shoulders as we said, this firework, this Chinese New Year firework display went off in the background while you saw the silhouette of them together. Oh.
Where did these fireworks come from? How was a schoolgirl arranged a firework display in the short amount of time that Lexi had? How was she managed to arrange this really expensive looking firework display in a short amount of time?
There was a guy there, and there was a scene where...
What guy?
Where Lexi says to this guy, "You're not going anywhere," and he was the fireworks expert.
Oh, I thought he was like some guy from the media. I thought she managed to like rope in like BBC News or something.
Digital spy in the Metro.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised.
The scoop. Balham are finally together. And yeah, I mean, what the weird thing was for me was that the fireworks looked like, and I suppose I'm dwelling far too much on this firework thing. The fireworks looked like they were about 5 miles away. So
yeah,
where
it's like she'd arranged it. Because she'd arranged them all to be at the Thames.
Yeah. So again, was the whole of London invited to this proposal that happened at Kathy's nightclub?
Yeah, all of the whole of London was prepared. It was like clap for carers, but everyone, it was boom for Balham.
So after many months of him brooding over Sharon, Keanu finally stirred himself up to ask her to marry him, which was perhaps not the wisest of moves, but that has now led them to start a relationship together, much to Karen's dismay, and much also to Sam's heartbreak, because not that she fancied Keanu, but she's always the bridesmaid but never the bride type situation, isn't she? She was with Zach, she was with Keanu, she tried to kiss Alfie as well this week, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
I know you're trying to kiss Alfie.
100%. You don't want to get in that boat. But yeah, so you know, Sheanu is back. What is attempt number 3, perhaps? Because we had Sheanu, we had Sheanu 2. This is one's a bit more less cloak and dagger and much more open as a relationship. I don't know if Phil really knows it's happening just yet, but Karen does, and Karen's not overly happy about it.
She's not best pleased. I mean, I don't know what Keanu thought was going to happen after Sharon had constantly pushed him back. I know what I'll do. I'll propose to her in public at the opening of her new boxing ring. That's good. That's an amazing idea. With the ring that he proposed to Louise with. I mean, genius move. What could possibly go wrong?
I would expect nothing less than from Keanu, to be honest with you.
Honestly, hot
Bless him.
dipstick, but a dipstick. But Sharon at first is kind of like, "Don't be ridiculous, get out of my ring," so to speak. He gets in there later again, and he, she. So once you're gonna miss me, aren't you? You're gonna miss me. But all this boils down to, again, Sharon at first is kind of like, no, absolutely not. And then she ends up having a conversation with Sam, who, like we say, is kind of just in destitute mode this week because she's just feeling lonely.
Yeah.
Really felt sorry for Sam this week,
Sam.
actually. Because Phil had to go at her for no reason whatsoever, which is horrible to her. Called her, what did he call her? Like a drunken slag because she tried to kiss Alfie.
Yeah, and your mum would be very pleased to see you like you are now.
And then just to put the cherry on it, Kat gave her a dirty look as she walked away.
Really filthy look from Kat, wasn't it?
No reason whatsoever.
And Alfie, she kind of looked at both of them like.
Kat's turning into a gangster's mole, isn't she? It's worrying. But
Easily
yeah, so
influenced.
she ends up having a conversation with Sharon and says, "Look, what is wrong with you? Like, you've got a guy that's absolutely desperately in love with you. Like, you leave that if you want. Like, that's ridiculous." So it kind of gives Sharon food for thought. She invites Keanu over and she says, "Look, I ain't marrying you yet. All right, you can forget you've had that. Like, forget that, especially with that ring. But let's start gently and see how we go off." And so
Gently?
By gently, obviously she means dragging him straight upstairs and having a wild.
Well, yeah.
Poor Al.
Christ,
Poor little Al. Poor
gentle
little Al.
stash.
No attention all evening. And they're officially now in a relationship, which, as we say, Karen was not best pleased with. Now,
Well, and Keanu was quite right to bring up that for Karen, it's better to be in a stable relationship rather than to jump in and out of bed with lots of different men, like what Karen did when he was bringing.
Well, yeah.
Up,
I mean,
dragged
that's
up.
the thing. I thought Karen was a little bit unreasonable this week because at the end of the day, if you actually think about where Sharon has been the past, like since Keanu was returned, she's found out that he slept with Sam. And he slept with Chelsea all in this quite short period since he's been back, whilst apparently telling Sharon that he's desperately in love with her. So
Well, it was all because he loved her. He was
doesn't
trying
make any
to,
sense.
No, not at all.
Nonsense, Keanu, the dipstick. Like it's so you can kind of understand why Sharon would be kind of like, no, and then Karen is kind of getting all sort of in her box about like, oh, you're messing my son around. It's like rubbish, Karen. So now they're officially together. They are officially an item. I don't think Phil's that bothered, to be honest, because now he's got Kat and he's quite happy. I'm sure the Phil and Sharon thing will raise his head again at some point.
Well, this is what I said about Kat earlier. I think Kat kind of almost pushed it as well because it kind of takes Sharon away from being a distraction for Phil as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that Kat's kind of now really got her feet under the table. I think she was quite unsure for a while, but now she's sort of realised, oh well, I can go to Fargo's whenever I like, and I can go to Chelsea to get my wedding dress, as in the place in London, not the woman, and like she can basically have whatever she wants, and she's kind of quite enjoying this sort of Mitchell lifestyle. I mean, wait until the next job comes along, Kat, and then see how much you're enjoying it. She forgets quite quickly that she was tied up in a warehouse by a corrupt policeman not so long ago, and her son got, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, but isn't Phil going clean? Like I said, isn't Phil now going clean by opening the gym and he sold the chicken shops?
Yes,
so isn't he all the money he's making? Isn't it just all legit? And yet he was only able to put one coin into the charity pot when Lexi was asking him for money.
If you haven't got illegal activities going on, you've got to watch where the pennies go.
That's true. That's true. There's a recession going on, so everything's going wrong for everyone, including gangsters like Phil. So
So obviously, as well, because Sharon, like we said, Sharon is doing all of this, all this stuff with the boxing ring because she wants money for the pub. Now, unbeknownst to her, Linda has been taking these secret phone calls. Who we now know is going to be.
We suspect they've not officially. Well, I know they're moving into the Vic, but yeah.
It's basically them, isn't it? So unbeknownst to Sharon. Now, the thing is with all this, I was kind of thinking that I can't think of anybody that Linda would be phoning where she's quite happy just to dump Sharon and kind of, like, especially when she can see that Sharon has done so much in order to get this money for the Vic. By the way, Janine has pleaded guilty, presumably to lower her sentence. So that's nothing to do with anybody else, just to make life easier for her. That's our girl. Obviously Linda is taking this phone call, and she is just going to dump Sharon in it eventually when this all comes out. So that's unfortunate for Sharon, and is that going to affect their relationship going forward? I think Sharon's going to be quite cross when she finds out.
Yeah, I think Sharon's going to be upset by the double crossing because Linda's not been very open about it. And not just that, Sharon really had to push the boat out because the Panasars were like looming, coming into the bargaining table. So, I'd be pretty miffed too, to be honest with you. But also it got brought up this week, the possibility of Alfie's intentions, his friendship with Linda. Because Sam brought that up as well, saying like, are you with her because you like her, or are you with her because you like the idea of having the Vic back? And Alfie did for a moment, I thought, notably thought about that for a second before he saw that Linda heard this as well.
At the risk of releasing the Kraken of your feelings towards Alfie here, I do kind of wonder, now we know who is going to end up in the Vic, because I think the general assumption when we knew Alfie was coming back was, Alfie's going to get back in the Vic again. But now that we know that isn't happening, and don't get me wrong, I'm quite pleased that isn't happening, because I think this is much more exciting what's to come.
100%.
But it sort of kind of begs the question, like, obviously Kat and Phil seem to be absolutely fine at the moment. There's no sort of there doesn't seem to be any sort of lingering stuff going on between Kat and Alfie, so it kind of begs the question of what the point of Alfie is at the moment. Unless he's to get with Linda.
I thought that's where you were heading actually with this. I think that's where it's going, isn't it? Do you not see there's this kind of thing?
Yeah, but I mean, for a start, I don't think it would be realistic for Linda to get with Alfie for at least another year. But she's too upset about Mick at the moment.
Poor man Mick, he is.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, and you're going to massively disagree with me here. I don't completely and utterly hate the idea of Linda and Alfie, if I'm honest. I think their personality.
That was the podcast, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the final episode. Rob will be doing his own from now on, where he likes Alfie being together with Linda. So enjoy that.
Don't shout down my opinions, Alex. God. It's I don't hate though. Because he is a poor man's Mick, so it's not exactly a massive shift for the sort of chemistry that she would have with somebody. That's what I mean. So it's not going to feel it wouldn't feel too jarring. But we'll start with Alfie, whether you like it or not. So
only for a year. His contract will end soon. I shouldn't say that. That's cruel. No. I mean, this is just that again. Alfie is a bit of a spare part. He's there.
Well, this is what I mean.
So he needs to have something to do. And if he's lost,
it's going to be Linda.
If he's lost the Vic. But then it's the fact that when Sam did bring it up to say like, "Oh, are you there for the Vic?" I think there was a little bit where you were meant to see him thinking, "Yeah, I am there for the Vic," because he's kind of been the one who's been championing Linda to stay, knowing that his job has been to kind of like being the organizer of things that happen at the Vic, and he likes that role.
Yeah, I mean, we always say, we know that Alfie is like the cheeky, chappy bloke, but deep down in Alfie, there is always a sort of reason as to why he ever does anything. He's always got kind of an ulterior motive a lot of the time as well. But then, as far as getting the Vic is concerned, he hasn't got a cat and Elle's chance, because even if he was to go with Linda, she would still need to raise enough money to get the Vic anyway. So his role in that would be kind of impotent. So it's very odd. So I guess we'll see with Linda and Alfie. It's probably where it's going.
I think you're right though. But I think you're right. Yeah, hopefully her mum will have something to say, and then,
I'm sure she will.
Yeah, and she'll be like, "Nope, he's no good for you. Have you heard all the things he's been up to?" I think the first time actually that I was agreeing with Phil, when Phil kind of called Alfie all the names under the sun in the garden.
He did.
He said, he's a layabout. He's worth nothing. Of course you owe him, Sam. You silly care. It's like, he's got a point.
Your London accent's about as good as your Northern accent, I have to say.
I've never been good at accents. Awful.
No.
Awful.
So that's because your own voice is so nice, Alex. You don't need to change it.
No, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Okay.
Sounds nasally and scratchy and like something. Can you imagine me like looming at night? It's like Chucky doll, like an Alex doll. Would you like an Alex doll? I think the world would like an Alex doll. Where I talk to you and come to life. And there are already those out there. I feel like
there's
random knee pain that comes from nowhere. But probably from some of the actors on the show. To be fair,
I'm not surprised.
I
think that's it. Next.
That's it. All right. Well, okay. Next. All right. Fine. But before we go on to the next section, there's another classic clip from the past of Walford Weekly.
I haven't seen any of these. You could throw anything at me. I have no idea what it is. Let's see what this one is.
They're all pretty terrible.
We're playing, for legal reasons, Rob, we are playing Square Busters. Let me go through the rules for anyone who's not familiar with blockbusters. Starting from the left-hand side, Rob must take a path across the game board. Each hexagon contains a set of letters, which are the initials to the answer for the clue I will give him. If Rob gets the answer correct, he can choose an adjacent hexagon moving across the board. But if he passes, that space becomes a block, and Rob must choose a path around it. Rob can take as many guesses as he likes, and he is only eliminated from the clue once he says pass. Rob, you have 75 seconds to complete the run. Ooh. Would you place yourself on the hotspot, please?
Oh my God, this is so exciting.
This is it. Here we go. So, Rob, you must link gold to gold in 75 seconds or less. Tell me where you want to start on your left-hand side, and I will start the clock.
Okay. PJ.
Bianca wore a silver, while Tiff wears a gold one of these.
Buffer jacket.
Correct.
BS.
Location of the market off Albert Square.
Bridge Street.
Correct.
Wes. WES.
The destination name for the train station at Underground on George Street.
Walford East Station.
Correct.
JSATH.
Creators of EastEnders.
Julia Smith and Tony Holland.
Correct.
KIAS.
Name of the 3 original characters on the show.
Oh God. Ian and Sharon. What's the K? Kathy, Ian and Sharon.
That's Blockbusters!
Well, having so much fun.
Well done.
I love this sort of thing. I go mad for this sort of thing. Done, Alex. That was a great game.
So this is it. The final time we'll be summing up a part of EastEnders. The final section we'll be doing. And why not end on a high? Why not?
Good part.
Why not end with Kathy?
Why not end on Vicky Michelle? Quite right too.
Exactly. Their very turbulent relationship gets even worse when Rocky finally admits that he is actually married, causing Kathy to just have a devastating breakdown. As you say, Joe Cotton, his wife, arrives on the square after a hunt on the internet by Bobby and Freddie.
It didn't take long, did it? This woman that was apparently absolutely impossible to find, Freddie finds in about 5 minutes, and then she's there in Walford by the end of the day.
Well,
so it wasn't that difficult to find.
Gives your home address to like just a random stranger on the internet as well? Because you could literally have just been anyone. Well, exactly,
Freddie does that.
Fredo. But this also led to a very interesting twist as well, which I want to talk about after this with Sonia and Reiss, and what that could mean for the future of their relationship. But so we start off then, as I say, Rocky has admitted he's had this marriage. It's been, we've known about it for a few months now, and we've kind of wondered how it was going to end up. And Reiss and Sonia kind of nominate themselves as trying to get him out of the hole, without Kathy knowing, but unfortunately Kathy does find out. I must say I loved Vicky Michelle. I was really surprised when she kind of popped out with her accent and all that. I was really excited.
I really enjoyed. That's how to do an accent, Alex. Be a trained actor and then come out with a London accent. That's how to do it. Yeah. I have to say, I like Jo. She was quite funny, quite gobby. I like her Kathy's instant dislike to her. That was all very good. I liked all that.
She invited her in to use the bathroom though, so that was kind of her.
Well, she didn't really invite her. No,
I suppose not. She took her shoes off and started having a mooch around the house.
Jo just walked in, stole Kathy's glass of wine, and then went upstairs to have a mooch around the house. Yeah. Exactly. So it's we like her. She's clearly got stuff still to come as well, because eventually by the end of, obviously she had lots of kind of arguments with Rocky and everything, and then she she's looking at these divorce papers, realizing that Rocky doesn't have a penny to her name, so it's pointless her being there. Storms out the Vic. It's quite good in the Vic as well, Vicky Michelle, I thought. I liked that.
Just brooding, looking at double vodka over the...
And then, she's got quite a smirk on her face by the time she leaves, so she's clearly plotting something. So I'll see what that is.
Well, she didn't sign the papers, did she? And Rocky and Kathy were celebrating.
Sign the papers.
Well, that's what she did. She looked at them. Yeah, exactly. So he didn't check on that while they were downing champagne.
I think there's more to it than that. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, I agree, but it's good. But like the whole premise is that she didn't sign the papers initially. So when they find that out to start with, they're going to know that she's obviously got a plan in mind. But what's that plan? I mean, you can't. I don't know how. If she unless she wants to take it the legal route, what's she going to do? She can't.
Well, she's not going to get anywhere legal, is she? Because, like Rocky says, I've got nothing. So like, all of that could be completely and utterly pointless. So it's,
but she's doing it out of spite, isn't she? She's not signing the papers out of spite to him. Apparently, she seems to think that she's been like the most hard done by the whole situation because he just walked out on her on this specific date. We actually looked up the date that she gave as well and saw what happened on that episode of EastEnders. Nothing much happened. Kathy was in it though. Yeah, not much to mention, but yeah, it did happen. Not much happened.
If only she knew that day. What was she up to that day? Was she up to anything particularly interesting?
Nothing special.
No, normal
special.
day.
They just having a kind of mooch around the market and all that.
If only she knew. If only she knew what was going on.
Probably looking after Ben when he was very young. Yeah,
and there.
I mean, Kathy also said to Rocky that, like, again, she's forgiven him, but if it happens again, I will not. I will one more lie, and that's us done. She
Rocky's
said that twice before.
I know. Rocky's one of the many men of Albert Square over the years that gets given many chances, more chances than a cat gets lives. So, but it's fine. I like Kathy and Rocky together. I think they work, and I Rocky is. I like Rocky a lot. I quite enjoyed the little scene where Bobby had sent Freddie to vandalise the car lot.
Yes.
He was so angry about what he did, and Freddie wrote Tosser with one S on the car. Bobby's idea of vandalism. Yeah. Bobby's idea of vandalism is that was the height of Bobby's anger. That'll teach him.
Why I know, Bobby. But Bobby didn't even want to do it, did he? That's why he got Freddie to do it with cream. It's like, oh, calm down then. But I love Freddie and Bobby. Like they just need to show more of their friendship on screen because then
Freddie has
fantastic.
Yeah, I have to say, Freddie has grown on me. I wasn't that sure about Freddie when he first came in, and it took a while for me to kind of get around to Freddie's way of thinking. But he's growing on me. I think I still wonder, like, when they're going to do this whole thing that it seemed to be the point in him coming in, which was the Billy reveal, and the Graham reveal and the little Mo reveal.
Where's Billy?
Exactly.
Billy's like, all this is going on with Lola, with Lexi, with his family, with, like you say, with Freddie, with him. Billy's just swung off. Yes. Apparently making, trying to earn money for...
Thousands.
What's this for? Yeah, but for what? I don't understand. For what? Because there's no medical... Was it meant to be for medical?
Well, yeah, I think because he's unaware that things have gone drastically wrong in his absence, isn't he? So he's going to probably turn up with all this money.
How's he unaware?
Fur coat, because they've not told him yet. Because Lola turned around to and said that don't
WhatsApp him.
Tell him that. So, you can't WhatsApp that.
Send him a message. Well, no, of course you can't. But you could do a video call or something. Surely Billy's in some sort of contact. Yeah, exactly. Well, Honey could have messaged him and said, "Hi, Billy. Your kids are missing you, and oh, by the way, your daughter, who is dying of cancer, has just been given a terminal sentence. Maybe you should come back. Sorry, granddaughter. Thank you. Perhaps you should come back. Now I'm going to earn some more money. What's happened to Billy? What's he up to? Lazy git."
What is he? He's up on a roof somewhere for Grant, isn't he? Doing lots of work. He's going to come back dressed as Del Boy in a big old fur coat and medallion. That much money. Anyway, so yes, all of that was going on, and Kathy and Rocky are sort of still together at the moment, and we'll see whatever goes on with Joe and the divorce papers. That's still to come.
Before you come forward, sorry, I just want to say also I did enjoy that we had a history lesson of Kathy's past men.
Yeah,
we learned about Pete and Gavin and Phil. It was fun to have her marriage history.
Any mention of the past turns you right on, doesn't it? You love a scene.
I did. I enjoyed that.
Kathy's always very good for that.
My favourite bit was when she was talking about when Pete was married to Pat.
Yes.
And his first wedding, and she said that's why Pete wouldn't get married at the church again because he married Pat at the church.
Yeah.
And Kathy said, I remember sitting in that congregation and thinking, I wish Pete was mine. It was like, who would ever think that about Peter Bill?
Hey, it takes every pot's got a lid. Every pot's got a lid. I mean, I don't know where my lid is. It's somewhere. Probably lost aboard somewhere over a shipping container in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, just floating along, waiting for me to pick him up. But hey, I want that. So while all that was going on, Sonia and Reiss are trying to help Rocky out. Reiss, we kind of get an idea throughout the week that there's something kind of going on with Reiss, because it's like we're sort of waiting for this sort of we're sort of waiting for Reiss's secret to drop. We kind of guessed
they kept having shots of him, didn't they? Every scene ended between Sonia and Reiss with Reiss kind of going,
looking pensive, and worried.
Loved it,
more worried than usual. And we get the reveal at the end of the week. I wonder where all this was going, because he looked really happy that Rocky was sort of back with Kathy, and I was kind of like, right, okay, so because you watched this before I did today, and you said, oh, it was a big twist at the end, and then obviously I kind of got from the sense that it was to do with Reiss at the end. I was like, right, he's going to be like Joe's son, or he's going to end up being a Cotton, or some sort of madness going on, and then it turns out that he has got a wife as well. Rocky's not the only one hiding a wife in his back alley. He takes a back catalogue. That's what I was trying to think, not back alley.
Take what he likes in his back alley. So, no judge.
No, free world. So yes, and he goes on the phone and talks to asks to speak to his wife. Who the hell could this be?
Now,
what's going on here?
This is why I think. This is why I think this is my final theory. And you need to follow it up if I'm right or wrong. So just keep everyone updated.
Don't worry, Alex. If it's wrong, I will definitely bring it.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. I'm sure I'll get a phone call just to maybe come on the show so you can throw tomatoes at me, or ring a bell and shout shame as I walk down the street.
Yeah.
I think there's hints here that it's a very similar story to when Jane was introduced to the show. And Jane started getting romantically involved with Ian, and you found out that actually she had a husband, but he was very sick, very unwell, and he was terminal and dying. And I think that Reiss is married, because the way he made the phone call was almost like he was phoning a hospice, you know what I mean, or a hospital,
or a home, or something,
a home. Yeah. So I don't think it's one of those kind of like marriage for inconvenience, because I don't think that would suit. And also true, and it wouldn't suit the Reiss's character, but I think it would suit Reiss's character that he had married, and his wife or partner. I'm no judge, as I said. He can do what he likes in his back alley.
Wife, though. Wife.
Oh yeah, he did say wife, didn't he? Sorry,
yes.
I just love Reiss so much. I just want to cuddle him all day long.
I know.
He's. Yeah, I think she's very unwell, and I think she's terminal. And it kind of would suit also Sonia's character, because Sonia's a nurse, and so Sonia will be there. Maybe Sonia will be like, I'd invite her into my home, and I can look after her as well. We can look after her together while she's dying. So I think that's
that, doesn't she? Do you remember her with Sylvie?
Of course she does. Oh yeah, and then she'll get his money, and then she'll get her money, because that's all Sonia does, doesn't it? She looks after elderly people, so they die and give her all the money. So that's what I think. That's what I think is going to happen. I think
that's interesting. All right then.
I think it's less malicious than it's.
I can agree with that. Yeah, because Reiss isn't the sort of character.
Reiss was never like that.
No, that wouldn't suit him at all. So yeah, that makes sense. I would tentatively agree with you there, but we'll have to wait and see. It was a nice little twist at the end, and Reiss got his first duff, which is always good to see. Nice to have your first duff in the bag. So that's lovely.
In the back alley. Yeah. It's I just can't believe he would do anything like that. But also, it kind of like, if you rewatch the episodes leading to that point, every detail that Reiss had made a lot of sense. Like everything made sense. The fact he defended Rocky, the fact of what his defense was, and then what his kind of, you know what I mean? It just kind of made it almost. I felt like it was Reiss trying to unburden himself by helping Rocky do this at the same time. But yeah, no, Reiss would never be that malicious. How dare you? How dare you even think otherwise? No,
dare you even think it?
Because we got a postcard as well, didn't we, from Bex? Bex is off to go to some beach party.
I'd like Bex to come back. Would you see Bex again? I could see Bex again. She's in Thailand at the moment, apparently.
I'd love to see Bex again, but at the moment I'm a bit concerned by the fact that they're already bringing in a family of 4, and their kind of one in, one out ethos doesn't seem to be making much sense for that. Because at first I thought, when they're introducing the new family, I thought, Felix and Finley hasn't got much hope. They're gone.
I thought that because we're still sort of not seen a huge amount of action from Felix and Finley yet, and now they're bringing in this whole new family. it sort of says, well, they're clearly not top priority at the moment. So yeah, it's interesting. It's almost as if there's a little bit too much going on in terms of the characters in EastEnders at the moment. Now that's not necessarily a complaint, because God knows we need a busy show, and it is a really, really busy show. There is so much to come. It feels like the show is like just everyone's running at the moment, which is great. But it's sort of when you're doing that kind of everyone's running thing, inevitably some people are going to get left behind. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that those people can't catch up. You know, like I always say, it takes one story to make a character, and maybe that one story is coming for Felix and Finley in the future. But yeah, those two are kind of stragglers at the moment in terms of. I mean, I like them in terms. I mean, Felix I think is working feels a little bit more sort of layered than Finley does at the moment. And
100%. Finley looks completely lost.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? I mean, if you get stuck with Ash as a romance, then you know you're in trouble. And it's so. I mean, I like him with like the foursome in the house. That's working quite nicely. But we'll have to wait and see whether it goes. But like you say, with the new family coming in, it's clearly not top priority at the moment. So. Remains to be seen. I shall cover it nicely though when it does happen.
You will. There you go then. So that's it. That's the week summed up by Rob and myself.
A final ever Walford Weekly covering of a week of EastEnders, and it was a decent week to finish off your tenure as podcaster. I think I enjoyed it.
I always say that. I love ending it with it's all right.
Honestly, the most emotional bloke you've ever met, isn't he? Honestly.
So there you go. So now we've got a bit of a treat for you guys because we have a very special end I Don't Want to Gossip, very last I Don't Want to Gossip, where Rob, myself, and Ben answer your questions and read out your comments, and perhaps another little friend drops by too. So I hope you enjoy it.
Janet doesn't want to be at the Halloween party.
I don't know why. You're such a wuss.
Yeah, who'd have thought that being knocked down by a car at the Halloween before would upset you so much? And
that line that Honey was like, "There's nothing to be worried about," and then she just leaves on her date, and it's like, "Honey, do you remember what happened last year? She got hit by a car."
Yeah. And then her dad slept with the woman who hit her. I mean, Billy, to his credit, did look after Janet very well. He looked after Janet.
Did he look after any of them well?
Well, he did, because he started off by getting Janet involved in a kind of a spooktacular prank on all the kids. So
she was in a closet because she was scared, so he was trying to like coax her out, wasn't he?
No,
was
that's
that Amy? I thought they were both in the closet.
No, they were in the closet jumping out on the children. Right. So Billy comes in during the thrilling game of Snakes and Ladders and says to Will, Janet just wants to show you something. And Will's like, oh, okay. And so he starts walking into the hallway, and Honey comes out and says, is everything okay? And Billy's like, yeah, everything's fine. Don't you worry about it. And so Will starts walking down the thing and says, oh, Janet wants to show you something in the cupboard. Now, first of all, that would ring alarm bells of suspicion in my head. I mean, Will's not thick. We saw that this week. Will was the one who orchestrated all the naughty going on. He made them watch the scary film. He made them play made them play silly games.
He's a model. He's a child model. He's not thick.
He's not thick. He really isn't.
No. I mean, can I just butt in and just say, when I was writing my notes for this storyline, I couldn't actually believe what I was writing as a storyline. Was Billy says there's no reason to be scared. They trick Amy and she hides in a cupboard. It's part of my notes.
Okay, so yeah, that happened a bit later. So they jump out on Will. That's an actual
note from a storyline.
Well, they jump out on Will, and then they try the same trick with Amy.
Actually, listen to what we're talking about. It's just okay. Carry on.
No, go on. I'm trying to paint it up a little bit. I'm trying to add a bit of colour.
When you say it out loud, it's awful. The kids are hiding in a cupboard, and Billy's trying to convince someone to come out of a cupboard. I just can't.
Oh, I know. I'm just trying to flank it out, though. I'm just trying to make it.
Amy double crosses him in a smart move.
Yes, she does. So Billy scares Amy so much that Amy hides herself in the cupboard.
And
Billy...
I hear a BAFTA.
Billy, I don't know what Billy does at this point.
Billy hits his tooth because he's scared of Amy.
Amy pretends to leave the cupboard.
That's what I mean, yes.
And then, so Amy's now doing the same trick to Billy. Billy's fooled by this. And so he goes back into the hallway and thinks that Amy's, like, cut herself or something because there's
Yeah.
like lots of fake
Well,
blood
yeah,
on
something
the ground.
happens, and the kids are watching like a film they're not meant to. So
Night
he
of the
goes
Living
in
Dead.
to see them,
Great
and that's
film.
when Amy comes out of the cupboard and then pretends she's still in there, and he goes in and she goes boo, and he hits his chin on something.
Yeah,
And that was her like big revenge.
But you don't see. I'm presuming that the scene of him actually hitting his face was so bad that they just decided to cut it out.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so he's hurt his tooth.
So he's hurt his tooth, and the remedy for such a thing is codeine and whiskey. So he's popping the pills and drinking the alcohol just to soothe his toothache that he now has.
Even though he's in charge of looking after lots of children who last year all escaped under Ingrid's watch.
Ingrid, who would never drink,
No.
she's whiter than white,
And they still escaped under her watch. So Billy
and
should be more careful.
Yes,
I mean, the party's boring. Janet's like asleep
Well, no,
with a pillow. She's fast asleep like, no, Dad. So they're all apple bobbing and it's Billy's turn. He's taken his pills and his whiskey.
he's had about 4 pills that we've witnessed by this point, and he's drunk about half a bottle of whiskey, and he doesn't even care anymore. He's now drinking the whiskey in front of the children.
And so he goes, gets his apple and his tooth falls out. And Will goes, that's cool. 'Cause
Yeah,
he thinks it's a
'cause he thinks
Halloween
it's a
trick.
trick.
At the same time, Honey and Adam come back from their date,
Yeah.
which I'm assuming they had a lovely time.
Honey sent Billy a text on his phone, and the text was about the size of the screen.
know.
So I don't know if Billy's got a problem
All
with...
capitals.
And all capitals. Oh, okay! Yeah, I don't know if Billy's got a problem with his eyesight or something. No wonder he whacked his head into a wall. He probably thought it was the door.
So for this very special final I Ain't Want to Gossip, look who has joined us, everyone.
Look who it
Ben's
is.
here.
Hello, I am.
All right, Ben. How
I've
are
come
you?
back. Original character, come back for the end, like Kylie Minogue.
Yes.
You're gonna,
I say
you're
2
gonna-
words.
Yeah, and
that's
then
all
even
the
that's
time.
mouthed and synced that you've recorded on another day.
That's right. No,
You're gonna
we're
lay
here to
some-
say sad goodbye, aren't we?
Oh, you're going to lay some flowers on our grave, are you, Ben? And then
Yeah, after the credits.
after the credits have run.
Do a Wixie.
It only feels appropriate.
Keep your chin up, all 4 of them.
Last,
I feel that was a personal attack at me, but I'll let it pass. Don't worry.
Is that myself? Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
Rob,
right. Okay.
is there any consolation? I'm very conscious that my skin is very shiny. Not that it has anything
Good.
to do with anything, but I
Good.
just thought I'd bring that up. So anyway,
Lovely
so
glass of
so
water.
we got lots. Yes, that's all I need for my glow. So we had lots of comments, lots of questions on all the emails and the Instagram and so on and so forth. I'm just going to read them through, and we can answer the questions as we come to them and so on and so forth. So the first one is from Gemma Archer. Gemma has said, I came to the podcast during early 2021. I haven't watched EastEnders regularly for a few years because I got bored of the show not long after Abby Branning died, which is the origins of the podcast.
It was.
But had caught up in lockdown when the show was on a break. I actually started from the beginning, which filled in the gaps of a lot of what I missed over the previous 2 to 3 years. And if I'm honest, if it had not been the podcast, I probably would have given up on the show for good, especially during the Johnson era.
Same.
It was having a podcast to listen to each week that I was feeling the way about the show. I just wanted to bring up, because we've talked about before the kind of like the origins of the podcast, and we said it's because of Abby Branning dying, and that's the reason why we did it. But actually, I want to let people, I don't think I've ever said before, originally, Ben, if you remember rightly, we weren't actually going to do an EastEnders podcast. We were going to do a podcast based in the New Forest. Do you remember that?
What? No, you
New
were.
Forest.
No.
Yeah, we were.
Don't
yes,
take
yes,
me
yes.
with the same brush.
New
What's the New Forest?
No,
The
you
New
were
Forest
gonna...
is a national park in the south of England.
Oh, that sounds
Where we used to live.
That would have lasted 5 years. Absolutely right. it
Thank
would.
God we didn't do that. That's not true, Alex. That was your idea, and you wanted to do the EastEnders one to practice how to do a podcast, so you could then do a professional version of a
How's
podcast.
that gone?
Well, the New
5
Forest
years later,
started.
here we are, bankrupt.
Well, because we were going to use it as a step up for our business. Remember?
No,
Ah.
Yes, that's true. That's
it is
true.
true.
But yes,
But it's nothing to do with me. It was all that was you doing the. You want to do it about the New
Well,
Forest
but-
and interview people or something.
That's right. And
I just wanted to talk about Abby Branning.
You wanted to talk about
Practically the same thing. Both national heritages.
Exactly. But because I said, why don't we try practicing them with EastEnders, because we both have a common interest. And as you say, 5 years later, the New Forest.
It was also Bex's bullying storyline, which we found funny, that we wanted to talk about.
Found that funny.
We did.
Just the way it was portrayed was funny. When she was locked in a locker, she sang guitar on stage, and we thought there's a podcast in this. So,
Little did we know. Little did we know. J.H. Prince got in touch with us and said, Alex, I'll miss you. Just me, no one else. It's really sad to hear
Move
that
on
you're
to the next
leaving.
email then.
Best of luck, and I wish you all, both personally and professionally. Rob, I'm looking forward to you continuing, and I'm glad you're staying on. The two of you have been great, have had great chemistry, love the energy as hosts. However, I know that things have to change, and sometimes we have to move on and do other things. All the best to all three of you, from Jen. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah, some of us have to move on and do new things. Others have
Rob's
to just
got a new acting career as well.
But that's why I thought I'd bring it up. So Rob's got his trailer. If you haven't found it yet, find it on his Twitter. It was a good trailer, Rob.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun to film. People now think that I work and own a bar, which, you know, I frankly, I think I'd be a marvellous barmaid and a landlady, but I don't yet own a pub. That's one thing. Maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll own my own bar, but not yet, I'm afraid.
No, it's excellently portrayed. And next week will be the first episode. I'm very excited, Rob.
After dark.
I know. Tell me about it. Very, very exciting and a little bit nerve-wracking, but yes, it's very exciting. And Ree is going to be a fantastic addition. Ree has been announced as my new co-host, and I cannot wait for them to get started.
Talking of the devil, Ree, she got in touch too.
Did she? All right. I wonder where that was going there. Was that a bit of the call for, Alex? All right. Bit jealousy doesn't do you any good, you know?
Of course, Ree has asked all three of us, do you have any tips for someone who's new to the podcasting game? I'd also like to say a huge thanks to you, Ben, and of course, Rob, for starting Walford Weekly. I'm actually gutted you're stopping, as I genuinely enjoy watching every week, but I'm still hoping to hear you both on future podcasts. So come on, best tip for Rady. Mine would be have fun with it. Don't take it too seriously.
Oh yeah, absolutely have fun with it. And if you're ever applying to be a part of someone else's podcast, lie about how experienced you are and you'll definitely still get the job.
Well, actually, I don't really think we've spoken about Rob taking over on the podcast.
So what happened was Ben announced his resignation. Literally the very following day, I was in there going, "I'll do it. I'll do it. I'm in there."
Yeah, didn't wait. You're in the DMs.
I slid right in.
Like Ben,
I could take your place. You're dead.
Yeah, that's fine. Off you go. I'll do it. No, I literally messaged the Walford Weekly account and said, "Look, I've done bits and pieces with this before, and I could talk about EastEnders till the cows come home. So if you are looking for somebody, I was trying to be very subtle in the message as well, saying, look, I know you're probably going through all sorts at the moment, having finished the podcast, you know. But if you are looking for somebody, hey, I'm open to offers.
You said I vaguely remember you said you have radio experience, and I thought, oh yeah.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? You said you did a podcast about Big Brother. I've done a podcast about Big Brother. I could talk for days.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd been interviewed once on an obscure radio station about an episode that had happened, and that to me was doing a podcast, and worked for the interview. You know, it worked. So yeah, and then we
make it to make it. That's absolutely my advice, Ree.
So you told Alex that I was interested, I think, and then me and Alex had a. What did we do? Like a pre-episode.
We did a practice. We did a practice episode where we spoke to each other for about 20 minutes, and
how did it go?
It went well. Well, 2.5 years later, it didn't go too badly.
I was quite pleased because Alex messaged me immediately and said, "Look, it's only going to be an audio. You don't need to do your hair." I was like, "This is my kind of guy. That's fine," because I did not look well that day. Let me tell you, I was worried. I'd run out of hair gel. I'd run out of all my hair products without realizing it. So I was very worried. But yeah, we did that episode practice, and then I was literally doing it the next week. So, you know, you've got to have confidence in your topics, I think, if you're going to go into podcasting. Be aware that the internet will internet, and just sort of deal with that, and don't let it. Try not to let it bother you too much. Although some people are absolute arseholes, but you know, you just got to let it kind of go over your head, and just sort of do it because you enjoy it, and remember that people enjoy listening to you. and focus on that instead of
say what you really think as well. I think people
Yes.
can tell if you're not and if you do. So I think that's a really important thing for
Absolutely.
podcasters, especially if you're reviewing something. Just don't be afraid about what other people are going to say.
Yes, indeed.
But this is it. And also, if other people do say something, the best advice I can give to anyone is just ignore it. Have the thick skin and just be like, okay, then shrug it off. Next.
That's
Sophie at Sophie on Twitter, I think, has asked us, throughout your time on the podcast, what has been your favourite and least favourite storylines to discuss?
Least favourite, I know straight away. Favourite, not so sure. Well, least favourite, and I'll tell you, it was the most difficult. I thought that we had to cover. Who do you think we are? The news agents. But that was Ben Drape, without a shadow of a doubt, the hardest kind of storyline for us to sort of discuss on a daily basis because it was just rough on social media. It was a storyline that we found difficult to watch for a number of reasons. And I think we were on a different page. Some viewers, joined our opinion that we were on a different page to some other viewers that came out in force on social media and made it very difficult to sort of have honest conversations about what was actually being portrayed on screen.
I think I covered one episode during that as well, didn't I? I think so. I remember that. That was
rough, and. It was the show was not having the same conversation with it as I think we were. So, and then other fans were kind of getting very kind of protective about it, and it was just a bit of a rough period. But other than that, favorite storyline, I don't know what. I mean, the build up to Grey was just funny by the end of it. I was really enjoying that, just because it just wound us up so much.
Grey literally goes into my, as you say, because it got to a point where it stopped. Like, it was meant to be taken seriously, and we got to a point where we just couldn't take it seriously anymore. Yeah. And so I see what you're saying. It became farcical, and so we started laughing about it. So I would almost encompass it as my least favourite storyline while we were doing the podcast.
It went on for so long.
It went
so long.
It was a year and a half, and every week we had to keep pounding out something about Grey's storyline, and by the end of it, we were just kind of like saying we literally have nothing else to say.
No, and I think Grey was a feature on it ever since I joined the podcast. So throughout the entirety of my time up to that point, I was talking about Grey, and it had been going on for about a year and a half before I joined. So it was mental, that storyline, but it just got to the point where we were just losing our minds with it. In misdirection. That's what it was, and it didn't do the purpose of it. Was lost. That's what it was. Ben, what was your least favorite and favorite?
My least favorite, probably the Grey stuff, the Tina and Kush, the skeleton.
All of
that.
Oh, the skeleton. Yeah,
that's when I quit the podcast, was when Tina was being killed off, and I was like, I just can't keep talking about this show without being true. But like, my favorite one, I think, is around the time when Dr. Leg's funeral time, when Punk Mary and Lofty and stuff came back, because we interviewed Mary around then, the actress Linda Davison. We were watching Classic EastEnders at the same time, so they overlapped really well. And there was a lot of fun, because that was when Kate Oates was taking over for the first time from John York, and it was quite an exciting.
It was an exciting time.
Exciting
and
time.
A few months later, it became.
Well, no, I mean, she stayed, and even maybe even Boat Crash week, I would say Boat Crash is one of my top moments.
Boat Crash week, I would say, in the
John Sen was behind that, so he's one of my favorite. It was one of my favorite weeks. So
in the modern that was a good episode, I must say.
I always say about John Sen, yes, we had difficulty with quite a lot of his stories, but I always kind of thought that his bricks were all right, but his cement was rubbish. And we talk about characters at the moment that we really, really like, and a lot of them were John Sen creations. The likes of Eve and the Panasars, people that we actually really enjoy talking about actively. And maybe he didn't know what to do with them. Don't get me wrong, but his bricks were good, and Chris Clenshaw is a good builder. It's like Bob the Builder, who's coming in.
He was good at casting most of the time. Yeah, the recast of Bobby.
Yeah,
stuff like that. The early days of Ben and Callum, when just before the wedding with Whitney, I really enjoyed Callum back then.
That was good.
That was really good. And
I liked Callum's running.
It's when he turned into a police officer. That's probably my least favorite, actually. When
so when they came back from lockdown.
Who Hit Ian? That was my worst.
That's when it
moment
started
of
to go
EastEnders.
mad, wasn't it?
It spiraled
Yeah.
out of control at that point. Yeah, that's when
Where things
I think
just
he
didn't
took the
make
special
sense.
sauce. Yeah,
At all.
yeah.
We still don't know what Kira and Peter were doing in the back of that van with those bottles of beer.
Oh, we do. We do. We're not allowed to discuss it.
Another
that the
fan
flash-
fiction.
Is that the flashbacks they had
that they do on
social
Twitter.
media?
Yeah,
No, I
never got
remember that.
answered.
That was probably my least favourite time around then.
Ah,
The kidnapping.
yeah.
all that jazz.
Yeah, that's when it got a bit crazy, back from lockdown. I mean, yeah. Robert Ryan has emailed and said, your EastEnders knowledge is superb historically and in the short and medium term, and love that you've made your home in Scotland. On a personal note too. Okay. I so wish you the best, though hope you still are about on the old socials. I'm grateful that you've come across Walford Weekly, something I've looked forward to every week as I've started to as I watch more EastEnders, as it's an omnibus for me up here in Scotland. So that's a nice comment, I thought.
Nice.
Our knowledge wasn't always there either. Like when we first started, we did a reaction to the first ever episode, and we didn't know who loads of characters were. And I think on Digital Spy, people were like, well, not very impressed. They didn't know who Sue was in the cafe from 1988.
Outrageous.
And I was like, I
forgot we did that. I forgot we did
2 years
that.
old. I don't know Sue. But so we did do loads and loads of research, and we watched loads of old episodes to really get a load of back history that we could.
Well, we've watched classic episodes from 1985 to 2002. Every single episode.
With a very big quality drop in 2002.
And now when we got to 2002, we've stopped, and there's a reason for it, sadly. It's not great.
Yeah, it's not good.
Mad. Wasn't 2001 like one of the best years or something? Like 2001 is ridiculously good quality, and then 2002 falls off a cliff.
Even summer 2001, when you look back, there's some really weird, like,
really,
what is this? And then 2002, it's just, I think it's when it went to 4 episodes. It's from that week. It was
that's when it's. But well, we haven't had the opportunity of seeing Alfie in his original form either. Form when he first introduced. But a lot of people I've seen on social media have said that you look back on Alfie with rose tinted glasses, and actually he was never that.
Yeah, because you said Pete Bill was remembered as a really great character, and we'd love him. Yeah. We were watching it. We were like, we bloody hate every scene he's in.
Pete Bill.
So
this is
always
the
been
original
rubbish.
Pete Bill, not Peter Bill. I fall over a bin bag while wearing a cape.
No.
Mary has written and said, my name is Mary Ann, and I've been listening to Walford Weekly podcast since I've been watching EastEnders on US BritBox in 2017. It's an informative and entertaining podcast, and I will miss you. I wish you the best of luck in the future, and I'm glad the spoilers will continue and hope the EastEnders characters ranking board will continue. Thank you for Walford Weekly. I'm glad I have an EastEnders podcast with Albert Square After Dark coming soon.
Whoop, whoop. Thank you very much. Yes.
I'm very intrigued by the After Dark.
Don't be. It was just a cool branding idea.
Right. You're really selling it. Thanks.
Everything that looks good about Albert Square happens at night, right? All the good stuff happens at night, and Albert Square looks incredible at night. So
Any scenes at night time?
They're always the one. So I thought I'd use that as the branding idea, and then we've sort of evolved that from there. And it sounds a bit like a club that you can just sit and discuss stuff. So yeah, that was the thinking behind it. It wasn't. People got really excited about the After Dark thing.
Yeah, there's
when
gonna be
it was
swearing.
Oh, what does that mean? Yeah,
Gonna be sex and
swearing, nudity. I mean, I'll present it topless if you like, but I don't think my viewership will go up very high very quickly.
Phil, more than you can shake a stick at. Talk of the Street on Twitter has got in touch with us. They're a podcast, and they said, you've done such a great job for such a long time, put out brilliant content, and in my mind, you have the best soap podcast logo out there. So it is a good logo. When we had to, and the reason I kind of bring that up is because I thought we'd kind of just venture into why we had to change that logo.
I was intrigued by this.
So I don't know if we've ever said this publicly, but we may or may not have got in touch with a certain TV program at a certain channel and being told that if we don't do something about it, we could get sued.
It wasn't that. It was during Easter. I remember because I had an Easter egg I was carrying back to the car from our drive to our house. And that's when she phoned me, because we were talking to the press team about getting access to something, and she was like, "Well, it's not going to happen." And your name, EastEnders, we were EastEnders Weekly, weren't we?
EastEnders Weekly, yeah.
Yeah, she was like, EastEnders Weekly. Have you talked about a lawyer about that? I was like, I'm literally coming back from Tesco carrying a $2.99 Easter egg, love.
What do you think?
I'm not contacting lawyers for the name EastEnders Weekly. So we didn't get any access. We didn't get anything from BBC. And then we also thought, well, we better change our name then. So we did to Walford Weekly.
You weren't allowed to use the title EastEnders in the title of the...
Well, I don't know. I think she was just doing some weird little threat to like stop us harassing the BBC press team, I suppose. But we weren't harassing them. That was when we were trying to do interviews of cast and things, and there's loads of like ridiculous rules that you're not allowed to do. So if you ever want to do an interview of a cast member, they have to be off contract.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a hint for Ree for doing podcasting with BBC. The BBC are very funny.
I've had that conversation with her. I've had to. Several ideas have been quashed
But
straight away.
This podcast has been great because we've been able to speak to cast members and writers and old executive producers privately. So that's one of the amazing things that this podcast has done. So
It's been a lot of fun.
Privately, we've been able to just speak to lots of people and stuff.
Who was the interview we did an interview with, and we had to do it over a phone, and it kept.
That was Mel's husband, Ray.
Ray. Again, I don't think we ever talked about it publicly, but when we did that interview, it was awful. He didn't like us very much. He was
really nice.
No, he was actually really sweet.
His receptionist was slightly annoyed.
The agent who was annoyed with us because for some bizarre reason the phone kept cutting off. And so we
downloaded some free software because we had to record a phone call, which you're not like. It's hard to record phone calls, isn't it? And this free software turned out that after 10 minutes it just cut the phone off. So we'd have to then phone the agent back, who then have to phone him, who was in like some villa somewhere. He was on holiday or something, wasn't he? And he was sat in his armchair looking out the window, and we had to keep re-phoning them 3 times. And on the third one, he said, yeah. And on the third time, he said, I suppose we've just got 10 minutes then. He was like, let's wrap this up quickly.
He knew.
Yeah.
But everyone we interviewed, every single one of them, and you can find them on our channel, every single one of them, and I'm not lying by saying this, absolute loveliest people. Really lovely. Tosh was lovely. Punk Mary was lovely. Ray was nice. And the unofficial interview we may have had with someone in a coffee shop was also absolutely adorable. Yeah. I'm not going to mention their name because we don't want the press team getting in touch again about that.
The podcast has ended, so you can't do it.
Yeah, screw them all.
I'm going to call this EastEnders Weekly, this episode.
Bob got in touch, says, hello, Alex, Rob and Ben. My name is Bob. Hi. I am very sad to hear about the end of the Walford Weekly podcast. I would like to congratulate Rob on his new venture with Ree. What I would like to know is, who is your favourite executive producer of all time? Go.
Dominic Treadwell Collins.
Matthew Robinson. No. Sorry, I thought you'd finished. Carry on.
All I was going to say was the show just felt so exciting at that point. You know, everything leading up to the Who Killed Lucy storyline. There was just such a buzz about the show. You could tell all the cast at all times were having the time of their lives on screen. The reaction to it, the fact that people were actually talking about the show, it just felt so exciting to be an EastEnders fan. That was for me.
It was really big back then. Like, you forget how big it was. Like, on Graham Norton, he had an EastEnders special, didn't he, with the Who Killed Lucy Bill, and it's like, the audience were filled with EastEnders actors and all the guests were just EastEnders. It's like, that would never happen. It was a really big time. But, the originals, Julia Smith.
I was going to stay by my one.
They're very good. I like the 3 years that they had. Matthew Robinson, again, is like known as like the best one. And most of his stuff was good, but I do feel towards the end with the Steve Owen stuff, it went slightly... Because we watched that really recently, didn't we?
The heist. I think the first shenanigan.
But no, I think Matthew Robinson did a really good job, and Clenshaw as well. I think has done.
Clenshaw's really
remarkable.
Pulled it back out. Honestly, Chris Clenshaw, I would 100%. He's going to go down in history. And to be fair, he. No, I'm not going to be. Stop being horrible.
Why change the habit of a lifetime?
for me, it's Tony and Julie and Tony. Yeah, the original. The first 3 years of watching the show, 1985 to 88, is brilliant.
Shame they didn't do a bit more, because 89 really.
89 is awful. It's really bad. It's funny though, and it's shocking, really, that the BBC didn't kind of think, "Oh no, we're in trouble here. We're never going to get that." Grasp that back again. So we're going to go for a quick break and we'll be back with some more of your questions and comments.
Oh, will you wind it in? It's only an EastEnders podcast. Nah, it's got to be much bigger than that.
Like what?
Well, you could do character profiles, videos, you could look at other soaps. There's loads you could do. Come on, Rob, you're a geek, you love soaps.
Do you mind?
Oh, and a mailbag.
A what?
A mailbag so people can send you stuff.
I am not having a mailbag. I know what the EastEnders fandom can be like. Most of them are lovely. Some of them would genuinely send me a cobra.
Oh, and you need a woman.
Beg your pardon?
To co-host. It's about time you had a female perspective.
Will you listen to yourself, you stupid old tart? You're always doing this, ain't you? Giving it all that?
I've had enough of this. Get out of my pub!
Oh, with pleasure. And just remember this, Ree. You can't tell me what to do. You ain't my co-host!
Yes, I am!
Oh yeah, you are, aren't you? Alright, fine. But no mailbag.
Alright, calm down.
Your new EastEnders podcast, Albert Square After Dark, starts Saturday the 8th of April on YouTube and all your favourite podcast sites.
Hello, everyone. We're back, and for the final part, then for our Q&A session, we're having a sesh.
So trendy.
Not on the sesh, are you?
I'm not on the set. No, too old for that. I'm almost 40, Ben.
no.
Did you not know?
I did.
So a comment on our Instagram from Pack Me a Present has said, has Halfway's hat bumped into any old characters in heaven recently? Well, I don't know, because I've not spoken to Halfway's hat. He never communicated with me. He only ever communicated with Ben. Ben, have you been in touch with Halfway's hat recently?
Well, since you announced leaving the podcast and it coming to an end, Halfway's hat has been in touch. I can confirm. He's seen the email, so he has got something to say. Are you ready, guys?
Yes.
Always.
To play a little game?
Hello, everyone. Halfway's hat here. I was so glad to receive an email asking all about me. I didn't think anyone would ever talk to me again. I recently got a new job as DCI policeman's hat working in Walford Police Station. Seeing as it's the last podcast, I was wondering if Alex and Rob could help me fix a problem I've caused. I need to put the baddies back in their correct cell, but can't remember who goes where. I can see something, smell something, and hear something in the cell. Choose one, and I'm sure we can work out together who belongs in the cell.
I mean, hearing and seeing and smelling stuff in a cell is never a good idea, I'll tell you now.
They all sound a bit dodged, to be fair.
So obviously, Halfway's hat, he has lots of occupations in his little life so far. He's been left around Walford, he's died, he's gone to heaven, to hell, met all sorts of characters, and now he is working in Walford Police.
He's been reincarnated to work in Walford Police Station.
Yeah, he's on the up. So anyone who can't remember, because it was probably years ago we played this, you can choose 3 of his senses to work out what's around him, and there will be a clue, and you have to work out which character should be in this prison cell.
Okay, and we have to guess after each
inanimate
clue.
hat, so he can only do so many things. So you can choose what he can smell, what he can hear, and what he can see.
Well,
Which one do you want to go first?
I'm curious to know what you can smell, Rob. Are you
Absolutely, Alex.
on the same page? Good.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a filthy page.
So smell, right?
Page 3 of the Sun. Yes, go on.
I can smell burgers and food from all across the world. There's cooking oil mixed in with expensive cologne.
Ooh,
Okay.
I think that might be a clue to like Walford East or something.
Yeah, I was thinking Walford East. Yeah. So this is heading toward. What are we trying to work out exactly here? Just like where he is.
What character?
What character
should be in this prison cell?
Well, at the minute, it feels like Ravi.
Ravi. I'd say Ravi. I'm on Ravi.
Should we go from what he can see?
Yeah.
Yep, do it.
I can see a crisp 100% cotton stolen bath towel laying on the floor.
Laying on the floor.
Just discarded.
No.
Well, now that's going to be that can be for that he's taken from a hotel that he happens to have stayed at. So
did he stay in a hotel with
yes,
Denise, or was
meant
to have?
Was meant to, but definitely took the hotel towel, the hotel robe as sort of dividends for not getting any. That's what I'd do. So absolutely fair play. Yeah. So far, I think we're still both on Ravi, aren't we?
I say Ravi.
Yes.
So I have my mind changed. So what's the last one?
What you can hear?
Here.
I can hear. Oh, it's the sound of hearts breaking all round the square.
Yeah, it's Ravi, 100%.
I think Ravi.
He's broken a few hearts in his.
Yes.
You sure? 'Cause this is the final chance that you ever get to speak to Halfway's Hat, and you may destroy his world.
No, don't.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Just saying.
It's got to be Ravi. It's got to be Ravi.
It has to be Ravi.
Has to be
Burgers,
Ravi.
smells from around the world, a towel.
Yeah, breaking hearts.
Breaking hearts. Yeah.
It's got to be Ravi.
Burger. I'm trying to think. No one in the Clunkies or would be. No, it has to be Ravi.
Bernie.
Gray when he worked in that burger joint, that one little seat, that one little box.
I never thought of that. Now you've said
There
that,
is.
I think it might be Gray.
I mean, he would have crisp towels as well, wouldn't he? And mind you, breaking hearts. I mean, making a few arms.
Who else is in prison? Who's all the people that are in prison at the moment?
Ruby.
Kirat.
Kirat. He breaks my heart.
Lucas.
Lucas, yeah.
That story broke my heart. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Okay, so who's your final guest then?
I mean,
to save Halfway's Hat's job.
Should we go for something? Should we go for something different just for the gigs?
Yeah, go on.
All right, I'll say Ravi.
Okay, you say Ravi. You say Ravi, and I'll say Kirat.
Okay,
I love him.
You can't both say something different because there's only one. I can either say correct or wrong.
All right,
Ravi.
100%.
Ravi. Yep.
Yes.
I'm committed. The final answer.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you so much for helping me put Ravi back into his cell. I can hopefully get a promotion now and become the head DCI detective Cap. Thank you so much for helping me one final time.
He got his promotion.
I'm
He'll just be waiting for Callum now.
I'm going to really miss Halfway's Hat. That's the one thing I'm going to miss the most, I think. Nothing else. I'm going to miss Halfway's Hat.
Well, there you go.
But let's read a few more comments then.
I hope that answer satisfied the... Who was the
Pack me
email?
a present.
Packing stuff. Packing presents.
Pack
There
me
you
a
go.
present. Yeah, hopefully that covered everything for you. Laura on Twitter said, I listen to the podcast in sync with the episodes that air in Canada, which is about 6 months behind. Knowing that this change is happening is like a big spoiler for when I listen to it in 6 months from now. So Laura's not going to see this for another 6 months.
Oh, God.
It's like
She's
a
not going to
flash
see this till
forward.
July.
God.
Yeah.
What a way to find out as well. Sorry about that.
So Laura, in 6 months' time, we're hoping to get a message from her saying, "Hi, thanks for
bye."
Yeah, bye.
Thanks for the message.
Bye.
You've closed down all your email accounts, so leave it alone.
The Custard TV got in touch, said, you've done a tremendous job at building a community and the brand. I'm incredibly envious and proud of what you've built. Yeah, thank you. We love Luke at the Custard TV. We've done a couple of interviews for him in the past, talking about like the show and EastEnders. And Ben and I also did a game that time, and I won. It was like a mastermind game.
That game was ridiculous. I had questions about the Taverniers, and it's like, who remembers anything about them?
I remembered them.
And you had a
hence why I
question
got the
about
question.
Peggy Mitchell, though.
Did I?
It was very unfair.
It was incredibly fair, and I won. We have a question. Hi, Alex, Rob, and Ben. Thank you so much for creating a brilliant podcast. You had the highs and lows like everything does, and you've done a fantastic job. My question is, which character do you think is the embodiment of each decade of the show? The 80s, 90s, 2000s, 10s, and 20s. I mean, shall we do one each? So, Ben, do you want to do the 80s? Rob, you do the 90s, or I do 2000s?
God, the 80s.
Okay.
I mean, I can
80s
answer all
is-
of that for every single era. Sharon.
Not every
Say that to me.
single. Oh god, the 80s is difficult. What, Den and Ange or Lou Bill?
Yeah. All the
I'd say the
classics.
Bills. I'd say the Bills.
it's hard
Arthur.
The 80s.
Arthur.
Yeah, 90s is
favourite
quite
character.
obvious. The
Mitchells.
the brothers,
Mitchells.
yeah.
Has to be the Mitchells, yeah.
They dominated
noughties-
the 90s.
Slaters,
The
I
noughties with the
suppose.
Slaters, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the Tens.
Brannings? When do they come in? The
Brannings,
Brannings?
maybe, yeah.
Ronnie
Carter's, I was
Roxy?
going to say.
Oh yeah, the
That's
Carters.
true.
Yeah.
2015.
How long
they
the Carters
came
have been in
or
it?
14.
Cards have been in it for
Pat.
almost. Pat's all of them again. Pat's
related to them all.
Yeah, she was, bless her. It's a terrible decision.
2000s is a tough one. I would say
the Slaters.
SARS?
Oh, 2020s.
Yeah, sorry, 2020.
Maybe, but then the Carters were a huge part of the 2020 of the 20s so far as well, weren't they?
So.
It's tricky to tell, because the thing is, I think obviously the casts got bigger as the years have gone on, so it was easier to have for like the 90s to have like a definitive like kind of character that you remember it for. But these days, it's spread across so reasonably evenly. It's difficult.
That's
to tell,
true,
isn't it?
Yeah, you have to think of. You have to think there's not one family. I guess
had a real big sort of 11, 13 year stint, haven't they?
Yeah.
It has to be the Carters. It has to be the Carters because they've been in the
I'd
Vic
say
the
so.
whole time as well. So yeah, the 10s and the 20s has to be the Carters. 80s, I would say the Bills.
And then the 90s.
But the Bills and the Fowlers. 90s the Mitchells, and the 2000s the Slaters.
Yeah, there you go.
And the Brannings ish.
And you're determined to get the Brannings in there.
Oh, the Branning
Abby
2010. They're not Abby, like Max and Tanya and maybe the Masouds around that sort of era.
Yeah.
Those lot. And then, the Carters from there on.
Not the
Soon to be the
Moons.
Peacocks. And the Knights.
Yes, and the Knights.
Sydney on Instagram has said, if you were executive producers right now, what's the main thing you'd change? While you're thinking, if I could just cut in, I'd kill Phil Mitchell.
Yes, we know you would.
and I'll do it as a dementia storyline, as I said 100 times before. I just want to get that in there right last time. Right, you carry on.
I'd be somehow reversing the Ronnie and Roxy death. Is what I do.
Yes.
And I would make it work.
It gets more and more difficult every year, though, to do that, doesn't it?
I would fine. I'd make it work. We would work something out.
Plus, hasn't Ronnie moved to live in Spain, the actress? So
she can
she
come
ain't
back.
around.
She
No,
can
she's
come
busy.
back.
She's with Big Mo.
She'll be busier when I'm done with her. Yes.
If I could do anything, I would probably turn it down to 3 episodes a week.
Oh yeah,
and reduce the cast by 10%.
Well, it'd be a third, wouldn't it? Or a quarter, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's probably what I would do. I guess, like big major things. If I can do anything, I'll reduce the episode count.
Run around with an axe, that's what you do.
It has to be said, if you watch it in the 80s and 90s, I know we keep going on about the classics and this and the other, but if you watch it in the 80s and 90s, it's so concise and everything works and like stories flow really well. It's like the Mother's Day episodes we had last week. It was really strange because they had the Mother's Day episode on the Monday, which is obviously Sunday. And then the Tuesday's episode was the following Tuesday. But all this stuff that happened is almost like they all went into a time lock for the day on Monday and nothing had moved on. And it felt really strange. And you never got that in like the early days.
I'd also commission a comic relief episode where characters who have been killed off are just in present day. And they had to have one episode where they're what I would do with them in current day, like Pat and Ronnie and Roxy, and they're just on the market. Just one episode, just see what they're doing.
Don't bring back Pat as well. I find a way of bringing Pat back.
Yeah. What I'd also do... What I'd also do is commission a audio series on BBC Sounds where you can bring 2 classic characters together where they basically have a conversation throughout the entire episode. Just
John York tried that, didn't he?
They tried that with BBC Sounds,
and
let's never remind ourselves of the Mel episode because that was really gross. Listening to it properly
and horse riding.
Yeah, they'd meet in Bridge Street. They'd meet in a cafe. These 2 characters hadn't seen each other for years, and they'd catch up, and it would just be an absolute orgasm to the ears for EastEnders fans. You could bring
that BBC Sounds.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm sure, but also I'd like them to do more. I'd commission a full series of like
of the Mitchells,
or like the Mitchells or something like that, or the Butchers. Like do like each one is of this family and like of the 80s or the 70s, of the Butchers and the Mitchells and the Bills and the, you know what I mean? I'd love that.
Absolutely,
that'd be really smart and really fun. Because it shows that people have an appetite for that. When they did the Mitchell flashback, it really caused a stir, and a lot of people got excited about it. We have an audio message from our friends at Conversation Street. I forgot who our friends were.
So many friends.
So many friends. So let's listen to them. Say hello.
Hi, Alex and Rob. This is a message from Gemma
And Michael, hello.
of Conversation Street. Just to say, we're so sorry to hear that your podcast is coming to a close.
Yeah, guys, Walford Weekly's been going 250 episodes. Well, EastEnders Weekly at first, of course. And I just wanted to say, although it's sad to see that you're ending, congratulations on 250 episodes, because we know how much time
Yeah.
and energy, dedication it takes to put together a podcast each week. And guys, you're massive EastEnders fans, and this is something you should be really, really proud of.
Yeah, definitely. We had so much fun doing the crossover episode with you a few years
Yes.
back.
Oh,
that was really just so much fun.
Yeah, really nice to have the two podcasts, the fans of two different soaps coming together to share their love of all things soap. Honestly, what you've achieved in the past 5 years with Ben 2, of course, has just been amazing. And I also wanted to say a big well done for your YouTube page as well. I mean, you got a real community built up there. It's fantastic. Loads of followers who I'm sure is going to follow you onto your next podcast, Rob, as well.
Yeah, good luck for that, Rob. And also to Alex, good luck for all your future endeavours. And we're so proud of you guys.
Really, really are. Well done, guys. And all the best for the future.
I realised I wasn't mentioned at all, but I did remember your name, Gemma.
Yes.
So,
Oh, no. We got another email. It says, over the past 5 years of Walford Weekly, who do you think was the worst character and why? So over the 5 years of us doing Walford Weekly, who was the worst character on the show?
Oh, Gray, 100%.
Yeah, Gray.
Just Gray.
Jags.
Oh, Jags!
Well, yes, Jags.
Jags wasn't good. Vi, she was awful. Who else?
She did shout a lot.
She did shout
Jags,
a lot.
Vi. Can't think of any else. I'm not. Well, that's all I can think of.
I
5
really didn't
years.
enjoy Lucas when he came back either. I found that whole thing completely and utterly different, like just mind-boggling. I didn't enjoy
Evie, that whole era with
you
Evie
will leave Queen Evie alone. I loved Evie.
and Jagger. Recast Liam as well. The recast Liam.
Yes,
not great.
That didn't work.
Acting,
Oh, Jagger.
character-wise.
Oh, new Liam. Oh, he was
That
awful.
didn't work. That didn't
They had that
work.
flashback, or whatever, it was the Ocean's 10.
Yeah, that's
thing
one of
that
my
was
least
done.
favourite storylines. I couldn't think of it earlier. That one where Janine was trying to steal cars and they went round the club and put dice in a bowl and picked out a key and then did all these weird things.
It was
the
hen
one.
pies, wasn't it? And
And he was like a sexy
walking
topless
around-
dancer.
Yeah.
That was mad.
Yeah.
That was mad.
Recast Liam, I suppose, is one of the worst.
Okay, well,
Is there best or just worse?
Just worse.
No, just worse.
Oh yeah. New Peter. He was a bit of a dat, wasn't he as well? Well, Ms.
Best would be
Magpie-
recast Bobby Bill. Let's put some positivity
Absolutely.
in. Recast Bobby. He's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other good?
I mean,
It's hard to think. It's such a long time. There's so many characters.
I like Suki.
Oh yeah,
we love
Suki
Suki.
Balvinda. She's great.
Yeah, we love her. And Eve as well. That's been,
Ravi.
Oh,
that's
Eve's
been
been a
good
really
thing.
lovely surprise. Eve's been an excellent surprise. Because for on paper it sounds ridiculous and dumb, but actually Eve's been wonderful.
She's
Really
warm
lovely.
enough to make it all work, isn't she? She was great.
Ruby's coming back was a bit mad as well, especially with her story for coming back, the consent story. When I'll never forget her unzipping that man's jeans
I don't know
with a
what
pair of
happened that
scissors.
No.
So can you imagine just sitting in the writing room going like, right, so I've got this idea.
And then she goes to cut his penis off.
Yeah, because she even laid the tarp down, ready to.
Yeah.
all the
Oh,
blood
she was
to come
ready.
out.
him.
She
Yeah.
was ready. She'd been watching Dexter. She knew
They
what
did such
she
a
knew
weird
what she was
thing with
about.
Ruby because she was a really unnecessary return, and then after just before she was leaving, they turned her into a really good character for a bit, and then she went on her maternity leave, and it all went wrong again.
And they pushed. Yeah,
they
she
did.
pushed-
They turned her around in the end to be a really good character, but
Yeah.
that introduction story was really unnecessary to
She
introduce.
was so
a character.
isolated. Yeah.
But,
Ruby was really isolated when she first came back and had what would turn out to be quite a good story. I love that episode in the Vic, the consent episode in the Vic where the kind of all
that was
discussing
excellent.
it. So that kind of led into that, but Ruby felt really isolated from the rest of the cast, and then just like you say, just before she was due to leave, she was really kind of spreading out and being like a good part. Of
They did the
square.
same thing to Mel as well, didn't they? Well, that's another thing I hated when Mel died.
Yeah,
because that was such a good episode right up until she walked in front of that lorry. It was so good. So that was really
Sharon.
necessary. That
Pregnant
really
Sharon
annoyed
pulled
me.
her out of the fired car.
All of that was mental. She'd had probably one of the most insane car crashes I think the show has ever done. Escaped that without a single scratch, and then wandered in front of a lorry.
I know.
It was
CGI
absolute,
lorry. It was it's just
madness.
Well,
Absolutely.
and it wasn't worth it either because the payoff at the end to reveal Sharon and Keanu was that they went to a hotel and saw dancing Santas, but it never happened on screen. They just made it up last minute, and it's like, well, why did you kill Mel and then?
The DNA as well, the DNA email,
Yeah.
because the DNA company just hand out emails to anyone who wants them.
Because Sheanu was a good storyline in the
Sheanu was
early
brilliant
days.
as well. That was really fun. Especially
fun.
It was fun.
Best episode while we were recording, the Easter episode when Sharon drops the cream all over her thumb.
Yes, when she gets really
I want
drunk.
Hunter to stay for her pudding. That was brilliant. I love that episode so much.
I
There was
quite
so
like
many
the
good-
weird episode when we'll recast Michelle. We don't talk about her, but there was one episode where it was her and Sharon having out, and there was like really funny lines, and they had
Lots of
some really,
swearing.
loads
Lots
of
of
swearing.
swearing.
I remember that
Yes.
episode being quite fun for an episode for recast Michelle.
Yeah, that was good
Bless her.
too. But again, they with Michelle's character, wasn't it? She was getting stalked by the man who she worked with in the department store.
Yeah.
Because Michelle was having an affair with an ex-student, wasn't she? Who
Mhm.
knew Michelle, and so she left the teaching profession.
And
then
they
she
ended
just
the story really early when all the women just brought him back to like
Yeah.
the Bill house
Yeah.
and told him off, and then they were like, "We're all sticking together as women," and then that was it. I was like, "Okay."
did we cover
Very
that
odd.
on the podcast? That was before our time, wasn't it?
I think Michelle had gone by the time.
Because she was there at Easter supper. I think we must have just seen the end of her where
the
she was
end-
just
the end
hanging
of her,
around.
yeah.
Yeah.
Off you go. We're here now.
That was an odd thing. Recast Michelle.
Yes.
Louise,
Lesson
I like
learned.
Louise came back. That was fun as well, especially when she had that moment when Keanu was getting shot in the face. That was fun.
Yes. Yes. There we go.
Oh, so many moments.
So many memories.
Don't think
So
we
many
should
memories.
keep her again either because she's a big celebrity now.
She's on You, isn't she? Or she was on You.
Yeah, she's really popular.
Do you want a very English accent show she did?
Beautiful.
Hello there, Courtney round slang. Is there any characters you'd like to see come back? That's a question
Janine.
I'm just throwing out. Janine did come back.
do her
and they
properly.
ruined
I
her.
don't want to
And
see her
then
back
do it-
now. They've
and
ruined
do
her
it
for a bit.
No, well, no, they haven't ruined her. They just bring her back and do it properly. She did this last time, Janine. Just as a really good executive producer came in, she left and then missed a really, really good era. And then, so I'd have her come back in an era that is doing really well and knows what it's doing and knows the characters, and Janine would be absolutely fine.
I do feel that Charlie Brooks wasn't very committed this time. Like it was just coming out of COVID where all the restrictions stopped. I think she took it as a year contract because there was no other jobs, and she didn't feel very committed. And Janine she went on a million holidays, didn't she? Her and Nick just kept going on holidays, and Danny Dyer was off a lot, and I just don't think it was the correct time for Charlie Brooks.
I wish that when Mary came back with Annie, I wish they were a bit braver and kept Annie in.
And Lofty.
Annie would have been good. Yeah, but Annie would have been a good character to keep in, and it would have meant an opportunity for Mary to come in and out every now and then as well, which I'd like to have seen. But
Yeah,
Annie was like, at the time, there was room for a character like Annie to be on the show.
Yeah.
It felt really weird that they didn't think.
It was happening at the
change.
changeover, wasn't it, between Kate Oates and John York? It was literally that week where it was all happening. But yeah, Dot's funeral
That's
as well
really
was a
good.
very good episode. That was a really good high.
That was really good. And
And when Camilla and the
flashback I really
King
enjoyed.
came to visit, that was a good episode. All ad lib.
They were good characters, weren't they? The King.
Yeah, I thought they were a bit unrealistic myself. Royalty,
I don't know who would have a monarchy in this day and age.
Camilla,
honestly.
she called Bernadette Bobadette, didn't she? I think Camilla did.
Boba Fett. She thinks it's Star Wars.
You just did what I did, and then you just got Star Wars and Star Trek confused. You.
I also want to do an honorable mention because it's a shame that we're finishing as new characters has been introduced who I love. Reiss. Reiss has been a great new character as well.
Reiss is
I
great.
love Reiss.
Reiss is brilliant. Really nice addition.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential there. And we got the flash forward to look forward to.
Yes, Christmas to look forward to. So that's.
So you ended the
9 months'
podcast
time
at a really
to go
good
back to
time,
that.
Alex. Well done.
Yes.
I know. I've done well,
Well
haven't I?
Yeah. Cheers.
Pretty much.
It's quite exciting. It feels quite exciting though for like a new era of the Queen Vic to be moving into a new era of like EastEnders podcasting and all that kind of thing. I'm quite grateful for that. So cheers, Glennis. I assume that was deliberate.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Got lots to
Yeah,
talk
you've got
about.
a really exciting, Rob. You've got a really exciting era, you and Ree, to talk about now. We've laid the ground for you. Now you can steam ahead and
bring it
it'll
on.
Be very exciting for you.
Can't wait.
Oh, but thank you, Ben, for coming back. Do you have any words, anything to say as a goodbye, or are you just going to kind of?
Well, I've already left, really, so not really. I want to say thank you to the person. I got one gift from a listener. Oh shit! I got one gift. So thank you. It was from Ben Mitchell. So thank you for that. I wanted to say thank you for that.
Shout out to Ben Mitchell.
Yeah,
he was a Twitter account. He used to always get in touch with us and say hello, and he was a really, really sound guy.
I don't know what happened.
Really
He's
nice
disappeared, but yeah, he got that. So you know.
I hope he's okay. Hope he's not.
Yeah, he's fine. I'm sure. He's boxing.
Yeah,
not brilliantly, but he is boxing.
No, I mean, I've already left the show once, so I've already said my.
Yeah, but you didn't have a proper goodbye, did you? You kind of just decided one day to
Julia's theme.
No. So
no,
do you have anyone?
I did a Beppe. I ordered a packet of crisps and left halfway through the episode.
You did.
It's been fun, fabulous few years doing classic. I've kept it around, and you know, the show's in a good place now. So it's nice to hand it over to new people to give their thoughts. I think we've said everything we can over the 5 years. So it'd be nice to hear other people's thoughts and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been very nice. We made new friends and new chapters together.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so there you go.
I've just stopped it.
You
Sums
bitch.
it up.
Right then. So, Rob.
Yeah.
To say, I know you're technically not going anywhere.
No, I'm not going anywhere.
Not your new podcast, but this is your opportunity to.
All I would say is to you, first of all, listeners and viewers, that is the end of Walford Weekly. Thank you so much to each and every single one of you who have watched us, who have listened to us, who have left us comments, sent us emails, joined in the discussion and the silliness and the fun and the highs, the lows, all of that kind of thing. You have been absolutely great. We've got a great podcast audience, and I hope at least some of you will join me on the next podcast, Albert Square After Dark, which will be returning next week. Shut up, you. That'll be starting next week, and me and Rhea are very, very excited. And as for you, young man, thank you very, very much for taking me on board. I have had a great time. I will miss doing this very much, genuinely. I really will. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a real sort of highlight over the past two and a half years that we've been doing it together. And I'm going to miss you greatly. So thank you very much for taking me on board. Thanks. And any final thoughts from you, sir?
I don't know why, but do you remember? It's going off to tangent already. I'm not going to say that. So yes, I just do. Do you remember that show, Look Around You? When
No.
So this is what I do when I don't want to get like too. I can't. This is me kind of going boom. Thanks, Ants. That's what I was going to say. Anyway. Yes. So yeah, 250 podcast episodes, numerous, hundreds more kind of like YouTube videos and special episodes and podcasts that we've made. I don't know if Rob's aware of this, but I looked up today. It's over 750,000 downloads we've had for this podcast. Over 3.6 million views on YouTube. And we couldn't have achieved any of that if it hadn't been for basically everyone out there who listened, watched us, took us on board, embraced us, and wanted to join in with the fun. And you know what? To all the lovers of the podcast and also to all the haters of the podcast, I enjoyed every single one of you being there through the highs and the lows of everything. As I've said already, when I first announced that I was going to stop doing the podcast, I wanted to end while I was still on a high and I was still enjoying it. And that's exactly what I was on. And in no small part, thanks to that idiot who's just beside me right now on the video, Rob, because Rob was there when we needed someone to kind of like pick up the show when Ben decided he just didn't want to carry it on anymore. And Rob was, as we said on the previously on the podcast, Rob was there like go straight in. But you know what? If he hadn't, then it would have. I don't think we would be on this episode right now, to episode 250. And it has been honestly an absolute pleasure working with Rob. I mean, you see what we record and we put out on each week, but you don't see the nonsense and the absolute bull that we talk about behind the scenes. The episode's an hour long, but Rob and I normally record for about 2.5 hours, and not all of it is us kind of talking to each other. Sometimes it can be us basically wanting to throw our laptops across the room because some kind of technical issue has happened yet again. And
Can't wait for them. Really looking forward to dealing with them on a weekly basis.
And so I'm very much expecting lots of text messages from Rob next week asking me for help, which is absolutely not a problem at all. Rob, please do get in touch.
He's going to block me. You watch. He's going to block me on all numbers, and he's just going to walk away, and that's never going to hear from him again.
Absolutely, 100%. But in all seriousness, I've had an absolute ride, a fun ride doing this podcast. We've had so much fun on Twitter, so much fun on Instagram, so much fun on YouTube, and just making videos and making podcasts. It's really something I enjoy doing. But I've done things in the past where I've carried on doing them, and it's got to the point where I've begrudged doing them, and I didn't want this to become that. And as I said, that's why I wanted to stop now. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to carry on doing podcasting, because I do enjoy doing podcasts. I do a Traitors podcast, in case anyone's interested, which I enjoy doing. But that's something which isn't a weekly thing, which again, I must admit, is something that's a commitment. And I would say to anyone, and you can see it from like other people who do kind of do a weekly podcast, it's a very tricky thing to do. And again, because of commitment of time and my job, unfortunately, it made it a bit more tricky for me to carry on that commitment as well. But thank you to everyone who got involved. Thank you to everyone who listens and watches and continues to listen and watch. And I cannot emphasize enough, I am going to be one of those listeners and watchers of Rob's new podcast. I cannot wait next weekend to turn over and see on my YouTube app saying like, oh, you got a notification. There's a new podcast episode 1 of Albert Square After Dark, and I cannot wait for that to happen because I know that this show is in very, very safe hands.
Thank you very much, and it's very happy. I'm very pleased to say that just finally I've made a true friend by doing this podcast, and thank you very much for being there. So that's it, darling viewers and listeners. Hopefully I will see some of you next week, and until then, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye for the last time from myself. Bye.
Bye.